All right, there we go. We are live. Welcome, everyone, to another installment of our Investors Performance Group meeting. I've got a few faces in the crowd that are new. If you guys are here for the first time, give me a show of hands. Excellent. Well, welcome, everyone. We appreciate you guys coming out. We hope we can put on a good meeting for you guys today. You walk away with something you haven't heard before, you learned something new, or you made a great connection. So we're going to kick things off. This is the Investors Performance Group. My name is Cameron Manning, so I'll be your host for the evening today. And again, we've got a great lineup of speakers. And the Investors Performance Group is brought to you by Technological Issues. There we go. By the Kelly Fry team. So Kelly Fry team is a full-service real estate investment team that is here to support you guys all the way from your very first property to your 150th plus property. So if you guys have any questions about investing in real estate in the Lower Mainland, we are here to help you guys out with that. Now, before we kick things off into high gear this month, you might notice if you're a regular or you're a client of ours, there's something a little different today, right? I've already been getting teased about it quite a bit, but luckily I have some gentlemen here joining me in the room. It is Movember. It is Men's Health Awareness Month. So we're actually participating in raising awareness for men's health, including mental health and cancer research. And obviously, this is something that touched me and my family a lot in the last year. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it before we start. And then hopefully you guys can help me out, raise more awareness and raise some funds. So what's going on with this clicker? There we go. So this is my grandmother. So for those of you guys who've been watching on Facebook, she just turned 95 years old this year, right? She is absolute rock star, but she has gone through a lot. And some of you guys probably have watched on Facebook. I actually lost my mother back in July this year. And that's not the only child that she lost this year as well. What we didn't post a lot about, just because he was a very private individual, was we also lost my uncle as well. So this is a family. This is my aunt and my mom on the left, and Terry. Now, Terry, this guy is a fighter. This guy fought his entire life from the day he was born with multiple different situations. When he was born, he had arthritis, so he was very crippled from the day he was born. He fought through 3 different forms of cancer, finally succumbing to bone cancer. He went through prostate cancer and everything like that. And at around just before his 70th birthday, we lost him. And this is the gentleman why I'm raising money right now. I'm growing the mustache to support him, as well as at the end of the day, cancer research. If we can get a breakthrough in one form of cancer research, we should have a breakthrough in other forms. So then, situations like my mother had, hopefully that can help lead to other breakthroughs. It's my mom a couple of Christmases ago when she came by the office. And of course, my Uncle Terry there. So I ask you guys, if you can help me out, I've got a goal to raise around $3,000 by the end of the month. If you can pull out your phones, help me out with that. You can scan this QR code. I'm looking at, try to do what I can to contribute here. So I can see some people reaching for their phones. I'll leave it up for a second. So bring you right to my contribution page. You can donate whatever you feel most comfortable with. Anything does help the cause. We actually have a team going. Jury's been helping me out with the team, growing his mustache. I got a couple of boys out in Alberta. So we're having a little bit of the blue collar versus the white collar competition, who can raise the most as well. So, got to help me beat out those blue collar Alberta boys. So I think I got the better stash out of them all. All right. Okay, I think everyone's working there. So thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone helping me out with that. Let's kick off into the gear today. So this month is our last formal meeting for the Investors Performance Group, because next month we're going into holiday season. We're going to have a holiday party, which we'll talk about in a bit. But for tonight, we have a great lineup of speakers. First guest speaker is Julian. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name. I'm sorry. From MPA Society. They're going to be coming out and talking a bit about their program. I'm not going to talk much about it because really I'm going to leave it to them. Of course, we've got another Tales from the Trenches, and Jim has joined us again. He's been busy globetrotting all across Canada dealing with tenant issues, and he has brought a whopper of a tale for you guys this month. Then we're going to be taking a look at another City at a Glance with our very own Elisa Donnelly. Kelly is going to be doing our, for lack of a better word, and I hate to say it, our series finale of the Airbnb adventures, a series of unfortunate Airbnb adventures. So we all know things are changing in the world of Airbnb. So this is a series finale. We've got a guest speaker from the Business Development Bank of Canada coming out live. So he's going to be joining us via Zoom. And then, of course, we've got our keynote speaker. We're very excited full circle. I remember when Melanie just got started investing in real estate. Now she's going around talking, speaking, and we're excited to have you on our stage as a speaker as well. And then we'll wrap things up with your market update and hot deals. So without further ado, you guys don't want to hear from me all night. You came out to hear from the other speakers. Let's start bringing up our first speakers. But before we do that, we have a contest. We've been doing this a lot, and it's, people have been loving things. So we have put together a bit of a swag bag. Lots of goodies in here. You can hear the jingle. All right, so if you guys would like to participate and win the swag bag, what you have to do is take pictures or videos, post it to your social media, Instagram or Facebook, and make sure you tag at Kelly Fry Team. If you don't tag us, we actually might not see it. So you might enter, but we don't see it. We don't enter you into the draw. So at the end of the night, we're going to be entering whoever has the best picture, the best aha, the best post at the end of the night. So make sure you guys are participating. Post them in your stories or post them on your pages, and we will pull that draw at the end of the night. Okay, without further ado, we're going to bring up Julian. Julian is the manager and portfolio development program programmer, I guess is the right thing. There's a typo there maybe. At the MPA Society. He is also a social housing specialist and former mental health outreach worker. He's has membership in Landlord BC, BCNPHA, and other associations. And he also really enjoys yoga and open water swimming enthusiast. We're bringing him out from MPA Society. Come on out, Julian. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin, for a nice welcome.
You're welcome. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to mic you up as well with these two mics.
Sure.
So you're going to get double mic'd up, one for online, one for our video guys. So we'll just put one there for you.
Okay.
And one right there. And I will bring up your presentation. And which way is it here? There we go. MPA. There we go. You're all set.
All set. Great. Thank you very much for that introduction and for not attempting to pronounce my surname, which I sometimes have difficulty with as well. It's a Polish surname. There's a reason why Polish people have ski on the ends of their surnames. Can anyone guess why? They can't spell toboggan. It's a lame Polish joke. Anyway, bit of an icebreaker. So, yes, I'm here tonight representing MPA Society. We are a nonprofit society based in the downtown east side. We were established in 1971 by members who were looking for housing for themselves. These are folks that had been deinstitutionalized, couldn't find affordable housing for themselves. That's where this organization started. And today we house literally hundreds of people in supportive housing through licensed programs. But what I'm here to talk about tonight is about our market rental housing program, which I manage. And that may be some interest to the investors in the audience that are looking for potential clients and guaranteed rent and a few other benefits that our program offers to private landlords. So this is who we are. I can't quite make out what I've written here on the right side, but anyway, there's a bit of a description. I guess here. So 50 years, we've supported and empowered people living with mental illness and addiction by providing them with home and support in communities. We provide all these services, including vocational and educational development, advocacy, social and recreational activities, recovery, and autonomy. So we've been doing this for a long time. We're not quite as well known as some of the other agencies in this field, like Portland Housing Society or Lookout Society. But what's unique about us is the market rental housing program that I'll get to in the next slide. So who our partners are, we partner with Fraser Health, Vancouver Coastal, BC Housing, Rain City Housing. Like I said, we have membership in Landlord BC as well. The provincial ministries of health, the federal government. These are the health authorities are the ones that provide us with subsidies that we utilize in terms of paying rent for our clients. BC Housing does as well, and we also get other types of supports through social enterprises like Vulcan's Furniture and Market that basically we procure housing furniture packages for our clients. So those are just a few of the people that we work with. Who we are, there's me at the top again with the unpronounceable surname. I manage the program. Dave, off to the right here, is our portfolio development officer for the Fraser Valley. He works primarily in Maple Ridge, Abbotsford, and Mission. Emma, Mark, and Stu all work out of Vancouver, Surrey, New West, and we work with the Fraser Health teams in those areas and with Vancouver Coastal Health. One of the other people that we work closely with, of course, are landlords and property managers, both private and corporate. We have a dedicated team of accounting and finance professionals at our head office in the downtown east side who manage all of look after our admin responsibilities. That means getting checks out on time, securing deposits for our clients, et cetera, et cetera. Lastly are the support teams from the health authorities that basically offer community support to the clients that we house in market rentals in the community. So I'll get into that into a little more detail as we move ahead here. So I sort of tailored what's normally a housing presentation specifically to discuss, I guess, what a lot of you are probably facing potentially as investors, having bought condos or properties that you're looking to rent out as short-term vacation rentals. As you all know, the legislation is changing next year. Unfortunately, it's going to be somewhat more restrictive and difficult to operate short-term vacation rentals in this province starting in May. But I guess the legislation, basically in a nutshell, will involve is that it'll limit the rental to the host principal residence plus a secondary suite or accessory dwelling. Local governments will be given the authority to enforce stricter rules with enhanced powers to fine unlicensed operators. My understanding that I think the fines are going up to $3,000 a day in some jurisdictions if you're a non-compliant and unlicensed operator of a short-term vacation rental. They're beefing up the enforcement capacity. So yeah, it's quite, I think in my view, as a landlord myself, a property owner, it's quite draconian and quite severe. So what we're here to do is to offer possibly an alternative that you may want to consider, and that is that if you want to participate in our market rental housing program, there are some things that may benefit you. One of them is being the stable and secure rental income flow that is generated from renting to our clients. We understand being a landlord is not easy these days. MPA itself owns quite a portfolio of properties all through the Lower Mainland. We own condos. We own licensed premises that provide supported housing for our clients. We own a variety of properties, excuse me. So we understand how complicated it is to be a landlord with rising costs, with increased taxation. I think it was just announced today that the city of Vancouver is introducing, I think the tax bill for next year is 9% or 7.8 or 9%, something like that. It was double digits last year. So increasingly seeing all through the Lower Mainland. I think Surrey has got a double-digit tax increase in their tax rate this year. So rising costs of ownership, the new restrictive short-term vacation legislation that I mentioned earlier, some of the other problems being late rent payments, abandoned units, costly repairs, the time and money obviously spent on vetting clients and rental applicants and doing the marketing. You can actually, if you decide the program that we are offering tonight is of interest, these are some of the things that we can help with. Our strategies work primarily because of what we call boots on the ground, and that's individual PDOs or portfolio development officers like Dave working with landlords closely to help avoid any kind of tenancy issues. We help mediate those where possible. They engage with the support teams that work directly with the clients so that the clients themselves typically have a wraparound supports from the health authority support teams that they work with. So clients receive the supports they need to overcome whatever challenges they're struggling with. Our chief goal really is to provide them with stable, secure, somewhat affordable housing in what is really a very difficult market. I mean, I can't believe the changes that have happened just in the last year alone in terms of rent increases, et cetera. So the folks that work with them and our staff as well are extremely knowledgeable about the market forces at play. And we take a great deal of pride in the work we do in terms of being responsible to our stakeholders, who are the landlords, who are the government funders that we work with, who are the clients themselves, and the health authorities. So we respect all the work that they do. Just quickly, the PDOs, like Dave, this is basically a list of the type of work that they do. They procure the market rental housing units, working directly with property managers and landlords. They maintain a portfolio of safe and affordable market rental units by signing what's called holding fee agreements. They're like head leases. It's one way of assuring that basically we have access to market rental units. And what it is, it's a contract that says that basically there's an agreement between the MPA Society and the landlord that property, that particular unit will be held to be viewed by applicants from MPA Society. We begin paying rent on the unit from day one. As soon as we sign a holding fee agreement, whether or not we get somebody in there in the 5th day or the next month, we continue to pay rent, and we also provide the security deposit. So that's one benefit of our program. You as a landlord have also the right of refusal. If you see somebody coming and applying for to become a renter in your unit, if there's something that's not quite right about the client, you certainly have the right to say, you know what, I thank you very much, but I think I'd like to see perhaps another applicant. So you reserve that right at all times. We act as a liaison between the landlord and the support teams that I mentioned earlier from the health authorities. We do some education pieces around reducing stigma and promoting tolerance and community integration for our participants. We administer the units using a secure online platform called FormSite, and we process rent payments and increases, like I said, through centralized administration at our head office in Vancouver. We do health and safety inspections as needed as well. We typically assist property managers and landlords to do those kinds of things on a monthly or bi-monthly or semi-annual basis as needed. So we also schedule regular housing meetings with the health authority support teams who work closely with the clients to see if there's any concerns or issues that have arisen that we need to get involved in and help maybe mediate. So that's what we do there. It is a unique program. I should mention that the type of market rental housing program that I oversee started about 15 years ago. And we started with one market rental unit, and currently we have close to 400 through the greater, the Metro Vancouver Regional District. And most of them, I would say, have been met with a great deal of success from the landlords, from property managers. We're very happy to see the program grow and expand and get stronger with every passing year. So again, we're community-based. The PDOs are in the communities working with support workers. We offer personalized service in terms of attending regular meetings with all our teams and partners. And our key partners, of course, are the landlords and investors, because without landlords and investors who can offer us the market rental units, we wouldn't have a program. So we're really beholden to them, and we want to make sure that those relationships stay strong, healthy, and positive. So that's a bit about that. I've got a short video that I can play that kind of discusses in a nutshell how the program works in Vancouver with one of our teams. And this is where I need some technical support from Cameron. There we go. I'll have to apologize if there's a, I think we bypassed the ad, right?
Sorry, we're just going to mute the speakers. Just
It's primarily in the Vancouver Coastal Health region, which is North Vancouver, Vancouver, and Richmond. So there's an entire team of ICM, they call them intensive case management manager support workers who work closely with the clients in the communities, helping them to promote and foster independence and autonomy and well-being. So that's the program that we run at MPA. It's been highly successful, and we work with dozens of landlords, and it's been a very, very rewarding relationship over the years. Who we house, like I said, some of the clients that we work with do struggle with mental illness and some other complex needs. They're referred to us from our partner agencies like the health authorities and BC Housing. Our job, again, we're tasked with finding housing for these folks. So the marginalized group that we represent is, largely at times homeless, but through the efforts of our PDOs and through our partner agencies, we're able to find affordable, safe, secure, stable housing for these folks, many of whom have been in the program since day one. I can say with some pride that many of our clients have been in the program for 10, 12 years and more in some cases. But the average, I think, tenancy, according to the data I looked at last, was about 4 years. So very long, stable tenancies. Again, the support teams, they're a variety. They take a few different names. There's ACT teams, assertive community treatment teams, ICM teams, and community-based mental health teams. These are the folks that actually work with clients directly. Like you saw in the video, that was one of the support workers who was working with a client, helping him do some basically activities of daily living like grocery shopping, personal finance, learning how to pay bills on time, that kind of thing. So we look after the big bills, meaning the rent and the deposits, and the support workers help with the daily activities. Where do we work? Well, pretty much everywhere. We're based in Vancouver, but we currently have housing units right up into Abbotsford and Mission. I think Dave announced that he got a couple more units today. Congratulations, Dave. So yeah, we're at about 400 market rental, what they call scattered site housing units. And our goal is to increase that to about 450 in the next 12 months or so. Housing process quickly. So a client and team member view the unit that's been procured, working with the landlord. Building managers contacted, an appointment is set up to view the unit. All the forms are completed as necessary in line with the RTA and the principles therein. MPA ensures the client understands the terms and responsibilities of the tenancy agreement that they sign. We provide tenants insurance. MPA covers that through cooperators, so that's assured as well. When they come into a unit, they have tenants insurance already. And we do provide, for some of our newer programs, brand new furniture packages, which is a great start for clients. And they also get a startup package, which sometimes includes a gift card to Walmart for linens, basic necessities of life. So when we set these people up in a unit, they have everything they need to begin an independent life. Benefits. Again, we kind of assess, clients on the basis of where they would be the best fit in terms of a landlord's needs. Again, as I mentioned earlier, landlords have the final say in approving who gets to live in their units. So that, that process can sometimes take, days or weeks. Sometimes it'll take a month. So we continue to pay rent as long as that takes. So we get a client that's qualified to be a tenant in your building. Rents and damages are paid directly from MPA. So there's less time dealing with rent collection, arrears, repairs, and evictions. Typically, there's a decreased loss of income because, like I said, we start paying rent from day one and when the unit's empty. And of course, all the support that comes from the PDO staff and from support teams help to mediate any sort of tenancy concerns. We're pretty well familiar with the RTB and the RTA, so we typically understand how costly and lengthy the process of eviction can be. So we work with landlords sometimes to evict that by way of a planned move. If we have vacant units, we'll move a tenant that hasn't worked out in a particular location to another unit to avoid having to go through a dispute resolution process that no one wants to go through. So the benefits: housing stability for the clients, increased disposable income, that's money they spend in the communities, healthier living conditions, ability to engage in employment, increased safety, social connections, and hopefully ultimately reduce substance use if that is an issue. Benefits to the government. A BC housing case study showed that for every dollar spent on this type of a program, there's generally a $3 to $5 return in terms of social return on investment. So, there's cost savings in terms of reduced need for hospitalization, emergency health services, social services, child welfare, putting people in shelters, other basic needs and supports. Our program ensures that money doesn't go towards that and instead goes to help out landlords who have available rental units. So there's a win-win. This is how the funding basically works. We get a subsidy from one of our partners. The client's shelter portion, most of whom are on persons with disability income or basic income support, they provide $500. That comes to MPA Society. We forward that every month to the landlord by way of check or electronic funds transfer. So there's a couple of ways that we actually remit the rent, and that's done on time every month. I don't recall a month that's been missed. I went backwards, sorry. And so the sobering facts. Homelessness is on the rise. Affordable market rentals are disappearing, not being replaced quickly enough with new housing. The new provincial rules and municipal enforcement will regulate and restrict short-term vacation rentals, making them much more expensive to operate. Partnering with us is potentially a win-win-win for folks who are looking to fill those units that they maybe bought and now are looking to place long-term renters in instead. So we look forward to meeting and discussing how our program works in more detail. If you like, we can chat after the presentation. We have cards and pamphlets available, and you can also get more information on our website. And that concludes the presentation.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Now, I'll open it up if you guys got a couple minutes. We can get 2 or 3 questions. Does anyone have any questions? Melanie?
Is it market rents, or like from a landlord perspective, what are the rents? What does the rental income look like when you're saying that it would help when people are now no longer able to do the STRs?
So just if you could repeat the questions just for the people online before you answer, that'd be great.
Yeah, these are market rents that we pay. Market rents. So I mean, if you have a 1-bedroom unit that's currently renting for $2,300, that's what we pay. So that's what you receive from us. It's a market rental housing program. We pay market rents. Yeah. Yes.
What's usually the size of the home? Like how many bedrooms, etc.? Are you typically looking for like a 1-bedroom sort of place?
Ideally, yes. Most of the folks we work with are individuals. So our preferred sort of accommodation or rental unit is a bachelor or a 1-bedroom. We do on occasion have couples that are looking for 2-bedroom units, but by and large, I'd say it's 1-bedroom and bachelor suites that we're primarily looking for this time. Yeah.
Ray?
Do you guys have your own
Yeah.
units?
Yeah. We own condos in Surrey. We have condos in Vancouver that we own. Those are reduced rent. Those are kind of geared to income, but those are actual condos in strata buildings that MPA owns and that we rent out to clients in our program. So
do you do any partnerships with developers or builders?
we've we've looked at those. We've looked at that. Yeah, we had modular housing on the site of the Queen Elizabeth Theatre for 5 years. It was called Laurel Place. That lease came up, and so those are now being in the process of being moved. So we actually partnered with a builder there to build the modular housing, and so there was a win-win for the builder to provide that housing, and then we housed our clients there with a generous sort of a lease from the city of Vancouver for the time. Now the new art gallery is being built, so we've had to move those buildings off-site, but they can be taken apart and reassembled. So that's a type of housing that we do as well. But we're more than happy to discuss options with builders to look at purpose-built buildings for, you know, like affordable at market or below market rents. So yeah, the types of units we're looking for can be in apartment buildings. We're looking also at private residences where there's a basement suite available. That's the type of housing we're getting mostly in Surrey and other communities. You know, in New Westminster, it's older stock of apartment rental units that we work with. We work closely with Cap REIT and some of the other REITs in other jurisdictions where they've been very, very good to work with. So, yeah.
Perfect. Was there any questions coming from the YouTube channel there? We're good? Okay. Awesome. Oh, yep.
Yeah.
One more question.
I was just wondering, when you say investors, you mean landlords, or that's something different?
I'm speaking of landlords. I'm saying I guess there are folks in this audience tonight and online that have invested in buying properties that they were intending maybe to rent out as short-term vacation rentals, but now are looking that maybe isn't feasible financially. So this is an alternative that we're presenting here, is that we have clients that are ready to fill those units at market rents to help, you know, offset the fact that maybe some of these properties may have to be sold. They're just not viable in the current sort of economic circumstances, right? But it's landlords that we're working with primarily, yeah.
And to second it a little bit, they have a program like this in Finland, and it's called Homes First, and the government runs it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they say that, you know, people need a home of stability before they can clean up anything in their life. So that's what they do. They give them actually a home. Then they have social workers and everyone else meeting with them, you know, throughout the week or month or whatever it takes. And they find that eventually what happens is these people have stability enough to deal with the other things that are going on in their life. They actually start paying some of that rent as they, like later on down the road, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite a great program, and they have almost a zero homeless population in Finland, so it's a good program.
Yeah, thank you.
Work, right?
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. We actually subscribe to the Housing First philosophy, which is very similar. We have affiliated to that, so that basically is where we house people, and then we attach the supports to them to make them independent and autonomous, and slowly they gain those skills necessary to become independent, you know, responsible members of the community. One of my professors once said, you know, ultimately the goal is to make them taxpayers. So we take them from being literally homeless, suffering from undiagnosed mental illnesses. We attach supports, get them the help they need. A lot of them go through vocational and educational training programs and become tax-paying, productive citizens in the community. So that's the aim of our program, and we've been very successful at doing that. So, yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Again, they'll be around probably till the end of the night, right?
Yeah, we're going to stick around for some pizza, I think.
Perfect. Sounds good. You guys have any more questions, come and reach out to them. Thanks so much. Appreciate it again for coming out.
Thanks
again.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to grab those microphones back from you on your shirt.
Yes.
There.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. That's,
Gotta walk off with
yeah.
these,
No worries. We'll clip those there. Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
And we're going to keep the ball rolling here into one of our very popular segments here. All right, so for those of you who are new and haven't been to one of our events, this is a segment we have been doing for several years now. We're actually on our 7th year running it, which is kind of wild. The fact that we can continue every single month to have these stories. But this is our Tales from the Trenches. Now, the reason why we do this segment is because when you decide to get into investing in real estate, you know, you go to a bunch of trainings and they start talking about all the money that can be made and you can build wealth and you can retire on a beach. And then you buy that first rental property, and then, you know, the tenants are calling at midnight that the toilets are plugged, or you get that bad tenant in place and you don't know how to evict them. Or, you know, in my case, I had a flood. I had to figure out how to deal with insurance. So this is why we do this segment. Show the other side so you can do one of two things. One, learn how to avoid our mistakes, right? They always say learn from other people's mistakes. Or 2, if it does happen, because some things are unavoidable, how can you navigate past it completely? And backed by popular demand, because we know he's got the best stories across Canada when it comes to dealing with tenants, we've got Mr. Jim Garnett coming back up. So Jim, coming up. Jim, I'm going to put 2 mics on you today. So you're in double trouble. There we go. And today, our segment is episode 11 for season 7, when the property manager mismanages. Without further ado.
I'd like to start off by saying very clearly and succinctly, I am not a property manager. Okay?
This isn't him
I
mismanaging.
want everybody to understand that. Okay? Please do not call me a property manager. Don't tell anybody I'm a property manager, because I'm not. Okay? There's a reason for that.
All right.
That's the disclaimer. So thank you for having me once again. It's been a while.
You're absolutely welcome.
But I ran across this story that I thought deserved a little bit of exposure. This situation took place in Surrey, and it's really fresh. Back in February, a property manager had placed someone in this house in Surrey, and just to lay it out for you, the top floor is 1 unit, and then in the basement, there's 2 basement suites. So the property manager had placed somebody upstairs. It was a very short tenancy. It didn't last. They were out the door, and the property manager was scrambling to get somebody in there for the middle of February. So they found these 2 women that were looking for a place, and they said, perfect, this will work very well. So they put these 2 girls in there. As the months went by, the ladies that were in this place, the one had one lifestyle and the other had a different lifestyle. And it got to the point where it was too frustrating for the one who had a fairly normal lifestyle, and she ultimately moved out. But prior to that happening, what she was exposed to was the roommate bringing in street people from all over the place. And she never knew from 1 minute to the next when she came home what was going to greet her when she got there. And to complicate matters a little bit more, there was a garage in the house. They had somebody living in the garage. They brought a motorhome / trailer into the driveway, and there was somebody living in that. And so the neighbors, and there was traffic coming and going from this house all the time. It was a busy, what used to be a quiet neighborhood. So the one lady that moved out, she found a nice quiet place out in Maple Ridge or Mission or somewhere out there, and away she went. The neighbors started complaining quite loudly to the city. The city sent the bylaw people down, and the bylaw people met with the landlord, talked to the tenants, and met with the property manager. And a couple of weeks after that, the property manager announced to the landlord that he wasn't going to be the property manager anymore. So he left. So the landlord was left dealing with the situation, trying to figure out what to do with it. And so he put together a bunch of information, and long about August, he served the tenant upstairs, the one that was left, with a 1-month notice to end tenancy for cause, and thought, you know what, we're going to resolve this and get rid of this. The tenant filed an immediate dispute, and there was a hearing set for the middle of November. The complaints continued to come in, the bylaw people continued to come by, and they were threatening the landlord with thousands of dollars in fines and saying, you know what, you own this place, you need to deal with this. This can't go on like this. So somewhere in one of these conversations, one of the bylaw people said, if you don't know how to deal with this, why don't you give these guys a call and see if they can help you? So we get a call from the landlord, and he's saying, please help me, because he says, I don't know what to do. And he says, I'm just waiting for the first fine to get levied from the city. And we already don't know what's going on inside the house. So he says, We don't know what's waiting for us there. We really need some help here. So we thought, okay, now this call came about the middle of September. And in the middle of September, I was a long way from Surrey. And we weren't coming back till the middle of October. And we thought, okay, we'll do what we can from where we're at, and we'll see what happens when we get back and see if we can help you. In the meantime, please let us know if anything happens that could change. And one of the first questions we always ask people is, do they pay their rent on time? If they don't pay their rent on time, maybe there's a door open for a faster way of getting them out of here. Okay? So, okay, well, yeah, they've been late a few times and stuff, but they haven't been there that long. And we'll let you know if anything changes. So the 1st of October comes and rent doesn't get paid in the upstairs. But in the meantime, trying to think of a way out of this, for the landlord, we thought, okay, let's reach out to the gal who left. And we came up with some contact information for her. And we contacted her and said, look, do you understand that you are still liable for any rents that go sideways, for any damage that gets caused to the house, for anything that happens in that house that could be an expense to the landlord? Do you understand that you're still part of that rental agreement and you can be held liable for that? She says, okay, well, what do I have to do? And he said, well, you have to sign a mutual agreement to end the tenancy. And that way, you are no longer responsible. Now, we've been told in the past that that's really unorthodox. We had an arbitrator tell us this. It's really unorthodox and we shouldn't do this. So he said, what part shouldn't we do? Should we not tell this lady that she's still liable and just let her carry on? Or how should we deal with this? And the arbitrator turned the comments around and said, no, really, you're fine doing that. So we had the documents prepared. We had one of our guys trying to contact this lady to get her to sign off on them. And then she started ghosting us. So we thought, you know what? We're not going to chase you. We've given you this opportunity, and here it is. So 1st of October comes, and no rent gets paid upstairs. So we think, perfect. Okay. We don't find out about it until the 4th. And when we find out on the 4th, we thought, okay, we're going to serve a 10-day notice on the people upstairs right away. Now, when there's 3 units in the house and 1 mailbox, serving by registered mail is not the way to go because there's no guarantee that the tenant is going to get the mail. We've been through that. We've lost it at RTB because of that. So we decide, okay, what else is open to us? Well, the property manager that ran away, the one thing that he did do is he got them to sign a BC 51 that says they could be served by email. So that was perfect. We thought, okay, let's go with that. So we serve a 10-day notice by email. It's deemed served in 3 days. We have to wait another 5 days to see if they pay. So we had to wait till the 12th of the month. And 12th of the month comes and there's no rent paid. So perfect. Let's file for a direct request. So we get all the paperwork together. We file for a direct request. And RTB, God bless them, within a week, we've got the documents back to serve on the tenant. Now, if anybody's been through this process in the last 3-4 years, that's a miracle, okay? So we get the documents back by the 19th. And we go to serve the documents on the tenants because you have to serve them both, even though one of them isn't there. And so we go to the door and knock at the door, and an unknown male answers the door. So we ask for the tenant by name, and she's not here right now, but I'll get her. Okay, fine. So stand at the door and wait. A few minutes later, another male comes to the door. And he says, no, she's not here. What do you want? So I said, okay. He's a male. He's 18 years of age or over. He's probably mid-20s. So we serve him the documents for direct request, and away we go. And those RTB guys are right on top of their game. We've got documents back again in a week. We're back with a order of possession. So we go to serve the order of possession on this lady at the house. And we get there, and we got a monetary order, and we got an order of possession. Knock on the door. A third unknown male answers the door. And he says, no, he says, she's not here. We haven't seen her, over a week. I said, really? Fair enough. Here's this order of possession. Here's the monetary order. Please let her know that these are here for her, and we'll go from there. So that was on, I believe, the 25th of October. So from the 4th to the 25th of October, we served, we filed, we got the order of possession. Things were going really smooth. So on the 27th of October, we get an email from an advocate in Vancouver. And the advocate says, this poor lady has COVID. And, so packing is something that's very difficult for her to be doing right now. She's prepared to agree to be out of the house by the 10th of November. I've been down this road a few times and seen a few things along the way. And sometimes by leaving that door ajar for that length of time ends up costing the landlord thousands of dollars because they end up going to Supreme Court, getting a stay of the writ, and you have to go through a whole process to get back to where you started out. So we went with our normal routine. We waited. They had not moved. We went and got the writ, and the bailiff said, you know what? We can't do anything until 6th or 7th, maybe even the 8th of the month. We said, that's fine. We don't care when you get there as long as you get there. Because the bottom line is we don't really know what's going on here. And we want the landlord really wants to have possession of the house again. So as it turned out, it was the 7th of the month. And the bailiffs went to execute the writ. And the tenant wasn't there. She had apparently moved. She was no longer there at all. And there was a woman and her 3 adult children there. And they were having a bit of an attitude. So the bailiffs are talking to them and trying to sweet talk their way into the house, explaining why they're there and what they're doing and everything else. And one of the bailiffs gets attacked by one of the sons and taken to the ground. So that was a interesting experience. And they called the police right away. The police attended. Everything calmed down. And now they're down to just getting them moved out of the house. So several hours went by, and we get notified that the bailiffs are done. The writ's been executed. The mother and her 3 sons have left, and the landlord can have the house back. So we thought, perfect. So I go to meet the landlord at the house, and he says, Jim, I've already been in. He says, it doesn't look very good. I said, okay, well, it can't be that bad. So being an optimist, So we went into the house, and here's what we found. So when we do an inspection of a place, any time that we change the defaults, it shows up in yellow, so the landlord or the property manager will see these yellow things and know that that's something that should gather their attention, so they take a look for the yellow spots. Well, as you can see in this report, there's a lot of yellow spots as you go through it. And so this is, where do we start here? This is in the corner of the kitchen. And you can see the artwork on the kitchen cabinets in behind. And then this is looking across the kitchen, and you can see the artwork there, and the shopping list written on the side of the kitchen cabinet, and then some of the artwork on the refrigerator. And then you start looking around, and there's some stuff on the countertops. You can't see a lot of the dishwasher, but there was some stuff on there as well. This is the dining room right next door, or a room right right off the kitchen, probably like a family room sort of thing. And you can see the damage in the walls there. That was my first impression walking into the house. And then we continued on. This is kind of the dining room area here. And then over on you can't see it here, but over on the walls on the left-hand side, there's more holes punched in the walls over there. This is the bathroom. It's just probably one of the cleaner rooms in the house. You can look at some of the other walls. This is the hallway leading to the bathroom, and you can see the holes punched in there. There was a bedroom just off the, let me see, yeah, just before there, not far from here, there's a bedroom, and you walked into the bedroom, and if you were looking, well, actually, you can see here, this looks like the front door. See these holes in the wall here? Those holes started in the bedroom that was adjacent to the foyer there. So they punched holes right through the wall in the bedroom and out into the foyer area. And this is, as we went through, like this was just consistent more and more as you went through. And these guys were just having their way with the place on the way. And you can see the lighting and stuff in here in the garage. We don't know what they were up to, but we can assume, okay? And whatever it was probably not that good. They were having people coming and going from there all the time. We're not sure what they were using it for. So that was the garage. That's the storage. You can see how well the laundry room was looked after there. But this place was one of the worst I've seen for damage along the way, other than the one in Surrey, of course, where they screwed all the windows and doors shut. But that was good. But the landlord went to his insurance company, and they got an estimate back. Anybody want to guess what the estimate was? Okay. 50,000. And so he was gagging and puking over that. And even more so when he realized that his deductible was 20,000.
Oh, geez.
So he's really not having a good month. But this is how this thing kind of shook out. And it brought a couple of things to mind that I thought, you know, there's got to be some positives coming out of this. First off is, if you're choosing a property manager, just like anybody else, you're choosing a lawyer, you're choosing a realtor, you're choosing an accountant, whatever. You have to be very careful about who you're choosing, why you're choosing them, and everything else, and hopefully get people that are going to work well for you. I reached out to the realtor that they had at one point and said, look, we've got an order of possession and we're going to have this back for the landlord very shortly. And the guy says, it's impossible. How could you possibly have got one that quick? So I just lucky, I guess. And so he left it at that. And I asked him if he was still a property manager. And he said, oh, yeah, no problem. I got lots of business and stuff. So I guess I'll send him a card. So a couple of things that happened in our favor. First thing was that the rent didn't get paid on the first of the month, and that opened the door. Okay. And just so you know, the mid-November arbitration came and went, and the tenants never showed up. So RTB stepping up their game helped. They've obviously turned the corner on all of the delays and stuff that they've had over the last few years, and hired enough staff that they're getting the job done more readily, which is a good thing. And then the landlord taking immediate action when bylaw said, you should do something about this because we're going to start charging you all these fine monies. I think turned out to be a very positive thing, because the landlord, not knowing just how big the fines were going to be, was in a hurry to get it done. And so they reached out and we were able to get on with it. And then another big positive was, once the eviction had taken place, the neighbors all started coming over to the landlord and thanking him. So, and also asking him to be a little bit more careful about who goes in there the next time and what they do. And that's about it. We dealt with it as quickly as we could. We did what we could to help this poor guy, but at the end of the day, a couple of things. number one, if you're not doing inspections, you don't know what's going on behind the door. This damage could have been done in April or May. Or maybe it was done the day before we got there. We don't know. But if the landlord doesn't know what's going on behind the door, then shame on them. So we've had that conversation with the landlord. And when you're dealing with situations like this, and as we've said before, if the rent's not paid on the 1st of the month, on the 2nd of the month, you serve a 10-day notice. Whether you act on it or not is of no consequence. But as a business person, you have to make sure you're covered, so you serve the notice. If things go south, you action it. And if things smooth over, then no harm, no foul. So it's all good. Anyway,
All right.
that's my story, short and sweet.
Another riveting tale from the trenches.
I have one more little tidbit, and then for you gentlemen back there, I was at a breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and the guy sitting across the table from me was a fellow by the name of Kevin Falcon. And during the course of this meal that we were having, I had an opportunity to press Mr. Falcon a little bit, and he assures me that part of his platform is to open a facility that will help some of the people that are stranded with mental health issues and stuff in the street downtown and everything, and get back to putting a roof over their head and helping them get back on track. So that's an interesting little thing. And I'm going to tell as many people that story as I can, because I want them to keep telling Mr. Falcon that they know what he's going to do. Just in case he gets elected, we want to make sure he follows through. So that's
the
it.
key. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to grab those microphones. That might help for the next speaker, right? And then I noticed as well, before you jump off, at the back there, looks like there's a Black Friday sale. Is that what that is?
It's a Black Friday sale, yeah.
All right. So go and make sure you talk to Jim afterwards and find out how you can utilize his services there. So
We started marketing our inspection software. It includes move-in, move-out inspections, all that sort of thing, team inspections, analytics, a bunch of stuff like that.
excellent.
And if anybody wants to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Always a riveting tale. As you can see, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from other people. And so that's why we like to show these. Again, not to scare you off, but at least to help educate you guys. Now, we're still running our contest. We started seeing some of the posts come in. So on your stories, on your posts, make sure you guys post any ahas that you had, any pictures from Jim and Julian, and make sure you tag us at Kelly Fry Team. Again, if you don't do the at Kelly Fry Team part, tag us in the post. We won't be able to see it, and we will be drawing at the end of the night. All right, we're going to keep the ball rolling, and we're going to be highlighting a new area this month. We're going to be taking a look at what is happening out in Agassiz, kind of the Harrison Hot Springs area, and Sasquatch Mountain as a possible investment area. So without further ado, we're going to bring up our very analytical geotechnical engineer, Elisa Donnelly. All right, I'll give you that, and there's not much of a spot to clip, so I'll get you just to hold both of those, okay?
Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting. Okay, so I think last meeting we had a discussion about this new legislation, provincial legislation about short-term rental. So basically, it really restricts what we can do in Greater Vancouver and Fraser Valley, unless it's your primary residence. But there is some exemptions, specifically cities with population under 10,000 people, also mountain resorts areas such as Whistler or Sun Peaks, and regional district areas. So that's why I picked the topics, and I'm going to talk today about Agassiz, Harrison Hot Springs, and Sasquatch Mountain Resort. So we're going to start with Sasquatch. You guys probably very familiar. So it's only located 2 hours away from Vancouver and 3.5 hours away from Whistler. So it's very accessible. It's a small mountain resort. I've been there a few times with my 5-year-old son. He loves it. Very simple. So what recently happened, the Fraser Valley Regional District, they just approved official plan for the Hemlock Valley. So this is a long-term plan, so 15 to 20 years. So, and it will result in just a huge growth of community. So let's take a look at the planning. So currently, this is a Sasquatch Mountain Resort. So there's only 4 lifts and few ramps. And it's just about 150 hectares of land. So what are the developer proposing is to develop this area. They're actually going to extend it, and it's going to be about 1,000 hectares, and it will be about 23 lifts. So it's going to be similar size to Whistler. Here's just some numbers to compare. So what they're planning to do to increase the current maximum capacity of 1,600 people per day to 16,000 people per day. Right now, the resort sleeps about just over 1,000 people, and it will be increased to 20,000 people. That's a huge increases. So here just some rendering showing how it's going to look. You can see it's very similar to Whistler style village. Again, as I mentioned, it'll be just under 20,000 beds. 40% of this will be available for public. 45% will be privately held, and 15% will be dedicated to employee housing. So as I mentioned, at this stage, it's still very preliminary, and it's the project will be constructed in phases, and every phase still has to go through the municipal approval, through the district approval. But anyways, this plan is for several decades to build out this resort. Okay, so as many of you probably know, there's not a very good road to this resort, but it will be taken care of by the developer and provincial government eventually when the resort is constructed. So it's definitely a good opportunity to look into it. There's I had a few clients who looked into buying a land and developing it with 6-plex, 4-plex, and so on, because it could be rented as an Airbnb, as a short-term rental, and I think it's a good long-term holding properties. So the next community we're going to talk about is Harrison Hot Springs. Again, I think everyone is familiar. It's just a couple hours away. A very nice place located on the Harrison Lake. Population, the current population, well, it's based on Statistics of Canada 2021. It's just over 1,900 people compared to 2016. It's which was about just under 1,500 people. It's 30% increase. So it's a quite significant increase in the last few years. Mostly property owned, so 81% of properties owned, privately owned, and 19% rented. So there's still room for rental market. Average age 50 years old, and average household is about $74,000. Vacancy rate, so this is actually, it was hard to find vacancy rate for this area, but it's 1.7%. That based on Harrison Hot Springs housing needs assessment back in 2016. Of course, besides the Harrison Lake, there is a Harrison Hot Spring Resort, very nice resort. It's been there since 1920, or it's actually 1886, and I think it burned down and been rebuilt. It has several mineral pools. There's separate pool for kids, separate pool for adults. There's indoor pool, outdoor pool, very nice place, so it brings a lot of tourists. Again, this is community is smaller than 10,000 people, right? So there's some opportunity for short-term rentals. Currently, we do have a listing located at 312 Lalolette Avenue in Harrison Hot Springs. So there's I believe there's 10 separate units, seven separate units which can be rented, and rented as a short-term rental. It's well established on VRBO website, and they also have their own website for bookings. So it's sitting on almost 35,000 square feet lot. So if someone is interested, go and talk to Kelly. That's her listing, and she can tell you more about this opportunity. And the final community we're going to talk about it is Agassiz. It's part of the District of Kent. Again, it's a smaller community, currently sitting just over 6,000 people. There is a slight increase from 2016. In 2016, it was 6,300 people. Again, mostly it's privately owned, so there is room for rental market, and 20% it's rented dwellings. Average age, slightly younger community compared to Harrison Hot Springs, 48 years old. Average household income, 78,000. And I couldn't find any vacancy rates. I found a document from District of Kent, but they said there's not enough available data, but it looks like the vacancy is very low. So we'll just go with that. So what's happening in Agassiz? Well, there is a municipal project happening. So it's a construction of new aquatic center. It's going to be, the total construction cost is $21 million. Again, it will be a nice new pool, 8-lane pool, leisure pool, hot tub, steam room, sauna. So it will be connected to existing recreational cultural center. So again, it's still reasonably priced community, and still there's some opportunities for short-term rental because it's located close to Sasquatch Mountain and also close to Harrison Hot Springs. So again, maybe something to think about it in terms of investment. So that's all for me. If you guys have any questions, I'll be at the back.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so definitely an area that we have been working in for a while. Kelly and I actually sold a whole whack up in Sasquatch Mountain a while back. And Kelly, what were we getting for those condos back then? Like 90 to 100,000 for condos, something like that. Yeah, they were dirt cheap. They're definitely not that dirt cheap now, but you can see what's still coming down the pipeline. So when you have that inside information as an investor, you can go and take advantage, go and buy up those properties, hold on to them long enough, and when all that construction is eventually done, you're going to see that growth. Look at what happened in Whistler and Sun Peaks and other areas like that. All right. Again, keep in mind, we've seen a bunch of posts come through, so jury's been busy there. Yep.
Question, how reliable is the snowfall in Hemlock?
Well, I've got clients who have been going up there for many, many, many years. They love it in that area. Yeah, that's pretty reliable. So they at one point said, it's too bad it's no longer a secret. So they decided to start buying up units because they used to be the ones renting those units. So again, keep posting, guys. We've seen some great posts so far. Jury's collecting them all right now. And we're going to announce that winner at the end of the night. And we are going to go into our segment here that it's a little bit of a somber one because it's been a great segment for us, for everyone who's been running Airbnbs, to help you guys learn how to do it. And this is our series finale. It's all over, at least in the suburbs. You know, we did show some great opportunities for some vacation areas. But without further ado, I'm going to bring Kelly up to have a conversation about how she is actually pivoting from Airbnb with her Airbnb units and what you guys can look at doing as well. So I will put one on each side.
On each side.
Yeah, there you go. One there and one on the other side.
Tell Diane to come up too.
There you go. And that is yours.
I don't need to. Oh yeah, you do. So it was a sad day when the announcement came out for Airbnb. And one of the things that I realized was I just have to pivot and react to it and make the best of the situation. Thousands of dollars invested in furnishings, handyman time, movers, etc. So I decided, well, I guess I'll start to test the longer term furnished rental. And so I put up my ads on Facebook Marketplace, and that's how I found these guys from the society who were immediately interested in renting one of my units. Now, and I said to David too, I'm a little bit more open-minded than I would normally be about an alternate program like this. So we're working with 2 units right now. And, they were very good to pay right away, to take the property right away from day one. So my first 2 I've converted this way with the government. And then I had a guest who wanted to stay long-term. So I've cut a deal with one guest. I had another guest who wanted to as well, but I didn't tell him fast enough. And he thought I wasn't going to keep him. So I could have had 4 done. But I figure between now and May 1st, I have 21 Airbnbs. I don't want to be stuck with these massive fines on May 1st. So we'll innovate between now and then and watch how the regulations come in and see how the policing is going to happen. But with all of my units being booked 90% of the time, I really cannot see how this is sustainable, because I've got travel nurses, I've got construction guys, I've got families with dogs, like so many people continually, fiber optics guys, and there's just not enough hotels. You know, Mission has one hotel and Maple Ridge has one hotel, you know, and these places are full from the pipeline workers already. So I'm just hoping that the public pressure, like with Uber dragged on and on for several years, that perhaps maybe things will turn around in the future. But brought Diane up because we're still operating Airbnbs, so we still have had our challenges lately. And we have a situation where we had a guest who booked as if it was himself, but then sent a woman and a child to stay there.
Which I told you guys about that last month. But there has been a bit of a turn of events. They are still contacting our cleaners, leaving notes in the building, because they feel that they've left an item in the unit that was it ashes?
Well, they're claiming that it was their ashes for their niece. And so they are coming to the building, stalking
Yes.
our cleaner, demanding these ashes. But the cleaner tells us
And she took a picture, and there was a few things left in the unit. So usually at that point, with the guests that we had and the discuss
the
that was-
difficulties that we
yes,
had,
she tossed
threw
everything
everything out. So she feels that it wasn't ashes, it was actually drugs, which is probably why they keep coming back to the building. But hopefully they will go away soon enough.
It's still happening. She's text messaging as we're in the back, but we hope that what we'll have to do is get Airbnb involved, and they can maybe contact Gord. And if not, then we'll have to see what our next steps are.
Call Jim. They'll have
Yeah,
to call Jim.
call Jim.
But, you know, the challenges with Airbnb continue, and we will run this until May 1st as best we can. But that's my update for now. And I guess next month I'll report into you guys how many more I've converted.
And you have a slide as well.
Oh, yeah, some slides. Yeah, so just to recap, they're talking about fines from $2,000 to $50,000. Although I was with some Airbnb hosts at lunchtime today, and they were telling me that there's a meeting being held in Prince George next week because the people in Prince George, the city itself, is not happy with this new regulation, that they need Airbnbs. So it would seem that it's possible that the municipalities might be wanting to actually dispute this new legislation. And since the municipalities are the ones that have to enforce it, it'll be interesting if some of them go rogue on this decision. Hosts can only operate short-term rentals in their primary residence. Now, this is already presenting problems because in the city, I'm part of many forums for short-term rental operators. In the city of Surrey, it does not permit short-term rentals, but there are thousands of them that exist. So all these homeowners are calling right now the city, asking if they can get their license because they want to comply. And the city is saying, we don't permit Airbnb, we're not granting you a license. So I don't know how the government provincially is going to get around this. I'm in Coquitlam. I just found out a week ago that in Coquitlam, you can have an Airbnb, but you can't have a kitchen in that Airbnb. So everybody stays in Airbnbs for kitchens. So I don't know how I'm going to get around this problem, but we'll report in on whatever we learn in the weeks and months to come. It would seem that you're going to need a business license to operate. Cameron and I were talking about this earlier. If you're doing over 90 days on the platform, perhaps you won't need a license if you set it to 90 days. I'm not sure yet. Data sharing is going to be required. I guess if Airbnb complies, this will happen. But if Airbnb gets into a lawsuit with the province, maybe there won't be data sharing. We don't know at this point. And they're talking about a minimum of 90 days, which is quite ridiculous as a minimum standard because all the travel nurses that I've assisted over the last few years have been 6 to 8 week bookings. So,
Mine have been 3 to 4 weeks.
yeah. So that's a wrap on this segment for now.
Is there any organized pushback for this?
Yes,
Changes?
yes,
Have
there
you guys, like, be
are-
part of that?
There are
I think it's
groups.
ridiculous, but what they're doing.
Short-term, I think it's Short-Term Rental Alliance is a group that I'm in on Facebook that has the most active activity going on. And there are people that are pulling money together for lawyers and taking action. But
Yeah, so maybe you can connect with Kelly
Yeah.
and get on the Facebook group. All right. Okay. I'm just going to
So couldn't they bypass that by like an organization renting out your space for indefinite and then having their own short-term people stay at there?
Oh yeah, if
Like
you
the
can.
hospital saying, look, I'm gonna rent your place so much for indefinite a year, and then they can just worry about the short-term stuff.
The only problem with the idea of having a hospital or healthcare workers booking it is that, in my experience, these agencies for the nurses are all separate and they contact you separately. They don't sort of align themselves as one industry, right? So
Tough to hunt them all individually
yeah.
down.
And they don't usually like to book for any more than what they need.
Yeah.
Question, Kelly?
Yeah.
Like for fines up to $50,000, what's the legislation behind those kind of unbelievable, penalties?
Oh, sorry. To be honest with you, I really don't know. And in fact, from a tactical standpoint, are they going to attach it to your property? How are they going to target you? I talked to my lawyer about it, and he said that it would become a judgment against you personally.
And probably Robert.
Yeah. Reiner.
I'm in the same boat, and I do have travel nurses typically for a month, and Trans Mountain and all the rest of them. So I certainly identify with all your woes. The 90-day thing, have you come across any other jurisdictions in the world that defines it? Because the government, how can the government just change the definition of short term? You can rent through RTO for a month. So how can they now say it's 3 months?
Well, there's nothing really that makes sense about any of this. The only thing that I can say is that the hotel industry has lobbied and probably bribed all the politicians. That's the only thing that makes any sense. And they're trying to buy votes from renters right now. I was at this lunch I was at today. The wedding planner that was there was telling me that 10 years ago, this happened in the wedding industry too, where people with venues were making too much money, was taking away from the hotels. And they caused all this legislation in different municipalities to block people from being able to rent out their venues for weddings. And it still to this day exists. So they have a lot of power.
It's also a knee-jerk reaction to the lack of rental property.
It's buying votes is what it is.
Rental
Let's call a spade a
properties.
spade. It's buying votes.
Yeah, so, but, what they're going to get is everybody that has short-term rentals are going to just sell them.
Mhm.
So we're just going to convert short-term rental properties to homeowners. And they're
We've
not
already had
gonna
several
solve-
listings, yeah.
They're not going to solve the long-term rental.
Yeah, exactly.
Problem.
All right, we probably could talk on this all night for sure, but we do have another special guest who is joining us online. So before I do that, I'm just going to shut these down so we don't.
Hi, do you guys hear me? I don't hear anything on your side. I heard everything before, but I don't hear anything now. It's locked out. I can't hear you, so I could hear everything before. Could you guys hear me? Excellent. Okay, great. Yeah, so and you can see the slides that I'm looking at here. So I just wanted to start by saying thank you to the Kelly Fry team for having me out tonight. That's great. I really appreciate it. No slides. So odd. Okay. How about that? It should be window, PowerPoint, slideshow. There we go. That should be on. Just waiting to hear back from Cam here on that. But yeah, so thank you again. Odd. Okay, because I'm selecting share screen. I don't want to log out again. Sorry about this. I don't know what's happening here, but okay, just a second, because this is still on here. How about that? That's okay. How about that? I want to just leave and come back. I heard everything fine right before, and then as soon as I tried to share everything is when the problem started. Because, yeah. Sure, let's do that. Okay. I don't know if I can stop, though, because I'm having a bit of an issue here. So just... Okay, there we go. I can see everything now. Yeah, I know. I knew this was going to happen. I might have to leave and come back because I don't see your screen anymore. Are you sharing it with me, or do you want me to? No, you're the only one on the screen now. Okay. So let me share the screen here. And great. Okay. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so thank you for having me again. I'm assuming that it's all working here. So I just wanted to say that, yeah, it's a really interesting time, obviously, with the Airbnbs. I don't need to add on to the equation. But obviously, the change in legislation has caused a lot of questions and whatnot out there. But I'm sure everything's going to be, explained in the future, maybe not to what everyone wants to be, but part of the problem with that is that, I actually have neighbors that have some people renting short-term next door, and they work on the pipeline down here. So in that sense, it doesn't make sense if they're not allowing the rental in that scenario. But yeah, so I'm here with BDC, and we're obviously here to work with entrepreneurs. Our mission is to help create and develop Canadian businesses through financing, venture capital, and advisory services, with a focus on small and medium-sized enterprises. We deal with all sorts of businesses, small, medium, and large companies. BDC is the only bank exclusively devoted to entrepreneurs. We are also a certified B Corporation, which is unique. No other bank has that certification in Canada. And I highly recommend anyone, looking up what a B Corp is, but it's basically a triple, people, profits, and your community bottom line. Yeah, we complement the role played by the private sector financial institutions. We're profitable, operating at no cost to the Canadian taxpayer. And our sole shareholder is the government of Canada. we're proud. We're the first financial institution in Canada to receive the Beneficial Corporation B Corp certification, and 100th company in Canada. B Corps are businesses that act in a way that benefits society as a whole rather than focusing solely on making profits. The certification is granted by a nonprofit organization called B Lab and is similar to the Fair Trade certification for coffee and LEED certification for green buildings. You have to do high environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. And compared to traditional companies, B Corps are recognized for creating greater economic opportunity, strengthening the local communities, and preserving the environment. And just a personal note on this, we have someone high up in the bank that's specializes in B Corps, and he was giving this presentation and he was explaining how these B Corps are more profitable businesses than a regular business. And I was kind of, like, oh yeah, sure. It doesn't make sense when you're taking some part of your profits and you're putting them over to this, something that's not necessarily part of the business focus, but actually, going into the market and dealing with certain businesses that are B Corp certified, I was quite surprised to learn that that was actually true. So something to keep in mind for the future for all of you. Why entrepreneurs? Well, better understanding of our market and the impact on small and medium-sized businesses. They account for 90% of the private sector employment. That's 10.5 million people in the private sector that are employed by small businesses. Between 2005 and 2015, 1.2 million jobs were created in Canada. SME, small and medium enterprises, we call them SMEs, are created more than 95% of those jobs. So that's people like yourselves that are running your own business, whether you're self-employed or you're working for a small business. We produce 52% of GDP in the business sector. So we do have a pretty strong impact on the economy, and we're vital to it. And that's really why we exist. And, it says over here, our mandate is to play a role that complements other financial institutions, fill the market gaps, maximize financing options for entrepreneurs. Our clients are more successful. BDC's financing clients are posted higher sales growth, up to 14% more than similar non-client companies. I don't know why, but I do think it's partially because the people that deal with us, they're willing to try new things and be a bit open-minded. An unwavering commitment to the success of Canadian entrepreneurs. That just explains exactly who we're focused on here. BDC is the only bank devoted exclusively to entrepreneurs. We provide flexible financing to support growth and protect cash flow. Advisory services on an enterprise-wide range of subjects like sales and marketing, financial management, which is a big one. We also do these digital adoption program loans. I don't know if you heard them out there. That's a way of helping. We do kind of a program where we review how digitally adept your business is. And from there, we can help get a grant to cover the advisory to do an assessment on your company and provide you with a solution how to improve all that. So BDC has over 42,000 clients in Canada, 2,100 employees across the country. I think that number is slightly higher now, but it's quite small if you guys know any of the chartered banks and how many people they employ. Some of them are 50, 100,000 people. We're quite a small, nimble bank. We have 110 business centers across the country. We have been opening more in recent years, and we've been around for 72 years. So since basically the end of World War II, there was BDC's predecessors were around. In our current form, it started around 1998. But yeah, we have over 26 billion committed to clients, and 94% of our clients are satisfied with our services, which we're proud of. So why choose BDC for your clients or yourselves? We look at the business as a whole. So it's a little bit of a different approach to banking and lending, etc. We look at the business, from a holistic perspective, not just, taking your financial statements and seeing what you've done. We optimize your clients' financial resources. So we give kind of more flexible repayment terms. We'll provide interest only, typically for the first year. This other comment in here mentions the business cycle. We can tailor things to however, the way that your company operates. We do provide professional advice, which is our advisory services. And, like what it's saying here, our loan is so much more than just an interest rate. Our lending terms are designed to give you financial control and flexibility to make your business run smoother. And so that's really what it's all about. It's rather than just, here's your money, here's your big loan payment. We try to work with you to make it so that, you're successful as well. Because if you're successful, we're successful together. We are there, come rain or shine. So that's another difference between BDC and the chartered banks. We're a non-committed lender. The banks are typically demand lenders where they can ask you to repay their loan within 30 days. So our loans are non-demand, which means we're a long-term patient lender. And over the years, I've worked with so many different businesses that have had different challenges and whatnot. And, things like in the summer, we had the forest fires up in the interior. With our clients that were affected by that, we offered these postponement to their payments. So we kind of give you the peace of mind. And that's why it's more than just an interest rate and a loan, right? Like, we're there for you to be a partner. We don't do GICs, grants, interest-free loans. However, that's not true, but I can talk about that another time. Term deposits, lines of credits, and non-commercial loans, or like residential loans. We don't do residential financing. I know this is a real estate investor group, but we do all commercial financing, and we do owner-occupied or like rental commercial properties. We don't have bank accounts and credit cards. I mentioned the interest-free loans. We do have a special program with the digital adoption program I was mentioning just before, where you can, if you're qualified and you do have a digital adoption plan completed, you can apply for an interest-free loan. So that is something different. I will be happily to take questions on that later or talk about it if you have any questions. So financing. Working capital is our biggest loan that we do. We provide working capital loans to all sorts of small businesses and medium and large companies. And that's typically a bunch of, injecting money into the business so that they can operate. I have a contract. I need all this money to buy the materials, or, I need to manufacture something. So I need to, get some working capital so that I can acquire everything. We also do financing to purchase a business, to invest in real estate, to purchase equipment, start a business, invest in technology, transfer a business, and exporting. We are tailored towards manufacturers and exporters. Our loans are designed to protect your client's cash flow. We do typically longer amortizations, higher financing amounts, and like I was mentioning, interest only or postponement of capital for the first 12 or 24 months of a loan. And then we can also tailor your repayment terms to the cycle of your business. So there's lots of flexibility with what we provide. If you need to raise inventory, like I mentioned, take advantage of supplier discounts, like if you buy in bulk. We don't provide line of credits, but this is the way of kind of complementing your line of credit. Typically, the chartered banks won't give you a loan until you've shown that you've done a certain amount of sales. So that's where a BDC kind of financing can help you. You take that first amount of money, and then you start using that to turn over your inventory and grow your sales. We can provide actually up to $2 million in loan growth plans. This is an older slide that I haven't changed, but so that amount's different, and amortization up to 8 years, which includes interest only for the first year. So like if you're buying a business, typically, we do technology financing for IT, software and equipment, and that's typically over 4 or 5 years. And then we also finance commercial and industrial real estate, which is why we're here today. So if you have an existing business and you're kind of overflowing, you need to expand because you don't have enough room to operate, we can help with the purchase of land and building, typically for owner occupiers, but we also do financing for real estate suppliers like rental properties. I'm working on a loan right now for a client. They own a rental property, and they just wanted to take some equity out of it. It's probably assessed at 1.3 million, and so we're doing about $850,000 in financing for them. We can also finance construction of new premises, like if you're moving into a new location. by expansion or just buying. And then we also do advisory services, so that you can optimize your setup in your new location. Our loans are guaranteed for 25 years, and that's a big difference. With a chartered bank, you're typically renewing on an annual basis. We do annual reviews, but we don't actually renew your loan. When we approve your loan in the beginning, it's kind of like a residential mortgage where you're basically approved for 25 years. We can tailor the payments if you have, seasonal cash flow needs. And there is an option to defer up to 36 months. In certain circumstances, we can do that. We don't do that all the time, but we don't take your personal assets as collateral. One big difference in a chartered bank, they're lending money to your business, but they want to tie up your house. And so that is a big difference than BDC. We won't put a second mortgage on your property, and our lending is non-demand. So we're a long-term patient lender. If you're buying a building, a rental or an owner-occupied property for your company, we don't require appraisals up to $5 million. Old slide again. Yeah, business entities whose primary objective is to lease premises to unrelated tenants, we can do this types of financing. In the greater Vancouver market, the cap rates are quite low, so they don't allow for like a higher loan to value. But outside the Lower Mainland, this is where the investor mindset kind of comes in. You can earn the higher cap rate and then have commercial tenants rather than residential tenants. And it's typically tenants with AAA, credit scores or tenants are the ones that we typically like to finance. And here's an example of an owner-operator, wholesale lighting components. They want to purchase land and building, consolidate all their operations. We see that a lot. Like people are operating out of one location and then they have like storage somewhere else. And it just gets inefficient over time where you have to move stuff back and forth. And, you're paying rent in two spots. So why not buy a place for $1.5 million, put in $250,000 of renovations. And, in this scenario, BDC is providing $1.6 million in financing out of a $1.75 million project, which is a pretty good ratio of loan to value. And that's something that we typically, sorry, I just came back here. That's something we typically do. We do offer 85%. This is kind of our benchmark, depending on this, and that's for owner occupied, but that is, depending on the scenario. We could do that for a rental property, likely wouldn't be in the Lower Mainland. We can do the same thing for construction. This land is $150,000. In other parts of the province, like you might see something, maybe not that low, but the construction cost of $1 million, we're providing $800,000 financing on a $1,070,000 project. So it is a good opportunity if you ever had to build something, to get the high leverage of financing, less capital taken out of your business, so more money to operate with. So it's quite positive for a business. And then for a real estate supplier, purchase of a building, $1.8 million. The shareholder investment would be roughly $300,000. BDC could finance 1.5. Probably in a location outside the Lower Mainland, this might work. But yeah, it's a good way of us to, there's guaranteed gross income of $315,000 and the building's fully occupied. So if you have a lease in place, like we can provide the financing for that. So it's easy to obtain. And then we also do advisory services, like it says here, to run a better and more profitable business. Anyone can give you money, but who can actually give you advice that's, important and realistic? And that's why you're here, talking to Kelly Fry and her team and Cam. These people are experienced. They have, they've talked to numerous people, gone through the same scenarios. And so we offer these services at a fee to increase your competitiveness and profitability. What if we came in and we changed your gross margin by 1% off your sales? How much does that actually mean that you'll have in profits after that? So a lot of times it's worthwhile to hire us. And we do. So this is specifically talking about, we have an operational efficiency program that we offer to people moving into a warehouse. How do we optimize the flow of what we're trying to manufacture or process? It doesn't work in, if you're just leasing out a building, but it's a way we can help you if you're occupying and running a business from the premises. Our goal really is to provide you top-notch advice and to help you overcome your challenges and scale up your business. We're here to help you increase your sales, improve productivity, optimize technology, manage your business, find new markets. We do online sales optimization as well. And just a little bit more in the advisory services, strategic planning, financial management, HR management, which is a huge one right now. The technology consulting, that was kind of what I was talking about before, the Canadian Digital Adoption Program. There is an option, or there's an ability to acquire a grant from the federal government to cover that advisory project, 90% of it, and then you do have an option to apply for an interest-free loan. So I know the slide says we don't do interest-free loans. This is a new project that just came out about 1.5 years ago that the government set up money in a separate pool for. And basically Canadian businesses have been underinvesting in technology for years. Obviously, when the pandemic came, everyone tried to switch online, and it kind of shows, how much underinvestment there was in the Canadian economy. So we definitely put a bit of an effort into that. And we consulted with the federal government to create this program called the Canadian Digital Adoption Program. And it's available for anyone with a business that has sales of $500,000 or more to upgrade and, to have an assessment done on their company to see how digitally adept they are, from sales to marketing to does all their systems connect to each other. And then from there, you can get a grant for 90% to cover the cost and then apply for an interest-free loan, which is the rare opportunity that we offer that. I'm happy to take some questions, but I am having trouble hearing anything from your end, so I don't know if you're muted or not. Cam? Hey.
Hey, okay, so yeah, we can't do two mics at once. We got a reverb on our end, but what we can do is I will facilitate the questions this way, and you can just repeat it back, and we can answer any questions.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I'll mute my computer. Perfect.
There we go. Okay, so Kelly's got a question. So the question is, what is an example of something that qualifies for digital adoption?
There's basically a company that has over $500,000 in revenue that's been in business, I think, for 24 months. You can there's the ISED, the Information Science and Education Department website, has a part where you just click on there and go to qualify. So it's fairly basic requirements.
So we can get Kelly more digitized then.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk to her after that about that. I'm going to go to the website on my other screen here right now just to pull up all that stuff. But yeah, it's a Canadian-owned business. It's for profit, has 1 to 49 employees. So you do have to have a T4 employee, no dividends, and then have $500,000 in annual revenue in the last 3 years.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? Yes, Debbie. Yep. So the question is, for the loans for construction, does that include if someone's doing like a mixed-use building or a residential building, or is it just strictly commercial?
That's a good question. We, in the Lower Mainland, we typically only finance commercial. Part of BDC's mandate is not to take residential real estate as security. There's rare circumstances that we do. If it's outside the Lower Mainland in a remote area, we would be open to it. But typically we don't do mixed use like with commercial and residential upstairs. And because it would have to be owner occupied, and we don't, because we don't want to have the government doesn't want to have residential tenants. In the case that someone potentially doesn't pay their loan, then then we don't want to become a landlord and have to deal with that type of scenario.
Excellent. Okay, we got one more question from Ray. Okay, so the question is for the digital program, the employees, you have to have at least someone who's on a T4 employee, and how long do you have to have them on, and what kind of wage do they have to be on?
I don't think there's any requirements. I mean, my understanding is that you just have to have one employee for the one of the last 3 years. So as long as someone's getting a T4 from the company, I think you qualify. So you can't just be like a director of a business and pay yourself in dividends. You have to actually pay yourself a salary.
So it can be yourself as long as you pay yourself a salary?
Correct. Yes. And the company has over 500,000 in revenue. And, like I've done some of these programs with some, business owners that are younger, and then also that are like 80 years old. And I read the report after, and I was kind of impressed with, some of the stuff that they said, and with the 80-year-old, pardon my bias, but with their business and how actually digitally adept that they were. So, but there's an assessment. If you go to the website ised.ca, it takes you to, you can click on it. It's called Boost Your Business Technology Grant. And you can get up to $15,000, but basically you have to do the advisory services first. So you ask us, you qualify on the website, and then you come back to us, and we do the advisory. We send you the contract, and then we do the work on your company to see how you're doing with all your connectivity, from your sales, marketing. If you're manufacturing something, it could be your ERP system, could be your payroll, and we rank you based on what other companies are using in the market. And we also provide solutions to improve your ranking in each different category of your business.
Excellent. All right. Well, Michael, we are running short on time here. We've got a couple other speakers, so I just want to thank you again for joining us.
No worries.
Visually, and giving us a little comedy act there as well at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was really, anyways, I did, but really, Cam, thanks for accommodating me and my time schedule. Thank you for having me. Next time, I hope I'm there in person. Love to be not in my home office doing this, but that's how it goes sometimes. But no, very much appreciated, and looking forward to hearing what the rest of the speakers have to say. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael. So we're going to be pulling you off the screen here now.
Okay.
And we'll keep things rolling, folks.
Great. Thank you.
1 second. There we go. Okay, you got sound back. Our tech guy wasn't on top of it. So, without further ado, let's bring up Melanie Robinson. Okay. So excited to have you. All right, we're going to get you mic'd up, and I'm going to bring up your presentation. So, we're going to turn this one and this one on.
I'll let you suit me up.
All right. Don't tell Jason. There we go. And I'll give you that, and I'll get your presentation up right now.
And where do I point it?
Just anywhere. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Super fun to be here because I've been in the audience for years now. And like Cam said, when I started investing in real estate, when he became my realtor, I literally was like newbie. I remember sitting in your office in Maple Ridge and you draw it like, I want to say on a napkin, but it mustn't have been. It must have been paper.
Probably scrap paper.
Yeah, it was like explaining to me how this all works, how do the numbers work, and anyway, super fun. Yeah?
Should be a down arrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be why. Well, you just said all of those things about who I am, but so I am a master practitioner of NLP, which is what brings me to the coaching business. So I worked with my mom in our family business from 2000 to 2017. Then I became a full-time real estate investor. That's when I met Cam. We've done a bunch of different things over the years. Like you mentioned, I mean, I don't need to go into it. The number of doors doesn't matter. It's not like an ego thing, but it is like, my point in sharing the number of doors is just that I have experience. I've had lots of things not go well, and I've had, lots of things go really well as well. Done some new builds, done lots of flips, and invested in New Brunswick and in BC. Right now, I've got land development happening in Victoria, and we're acquiring another 7-unit in New Brunswick in January. And and I have a couple properties in the Okanagan under contract right now as well. So, and I offer mindset coaching. So, the thing that the reason I love supporting investors is because I'm not just like a mindset coach who thought, ooh, that'd be really cool to, help investors. And I'm not an investor who thought mindset was kind of a neat thing. I have the training and I've done it since 2000 in corporate, corporate training, coaching, consulting. And then I became an investor, left that behind. And then I saw the need for, it's like, we can learn all the things. We can be amazing at crunching numbers. We can do our due diligence and learn all the strategies. But if we get in our own way, if we have all these things going on in here that are stopping us, well, then it doesn't matter how much we learn. It doesn't matter how smart we are. We're not going to create the success that we want. So I'm hoping tonight that if you have anything that's stopping you internally, like if you, have any fears or any overwhelm, any stress, any of those things that are stopping you from taking action, I hope by tonight you can take one little tip from something that I share and maybe have it tweak something that has you excited to go and take action again. Because the reality is, we all know, as we've heard tonight, and we all know from our experiences, that there's a lot of challenges that we face all the time as investors. And right now the market, is giving us a few other reasons to feel challenged or be afraid. So, we can't control these things is the challenge. We can't control interest rates. We can't control what the government implements and what new policies and regulations they put in, like the STRs and all of the filing things we need to do. We can't control any of that. We often have families. We have all sorts of different things that are all piling on us, and we can't do anything about any of that stuff. The only thing we can do if we really want to create success, if we have these goals and dreams and we really want them, we can't let those things that we can't control stop us from being able to create the life that we want and the success that we want. And that's why I love mindset, because mindset can be thought of as some like woo-woo, airy-fairy, blah, 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 Melanie, just teach me how to crunch numbers. But the truth is that it's a skill. You've got to learn how to use your resources when things go sideways, so that you're not like 90% of the people who just give up when things get tough, that you've got the resilience, you've got the skills to do what you need to do to keep going. It's like, if you want these things, if you say you want these things in life, then you have to be willing to do what it takes to achieve them. And when we get kicked down, it's like, how do you pick yourself back up? What do you do? I mean, we were talking, Debbie, you were like the most amazing example of somebody who you obviously have an incredible mindset because you've overcome like crazy adversity in this last year. And here you are starting a business and doing your thing. That's because of what you have going on in here. The world outside of you did not cooperate with you. You did that, right? So that's what we're talking about. So, I mean, I don't know if, what challenges each of you are facing right now. I'm assuming, is there anyone in here who like fear kind of stops you, whether it's afraid of the interest rates, afraid of what the government's, because you're kicking butt. Here's one thing I should say too. The NLP model was actually created by studying the people who are excellent at what they do. They were looking at what are the people that are excellent at what they do? What are they doing? And not like, what are the steps that they're taking to achieve the results, but what's going on in their mind? What are they saying to themselves? What is that self-talk going on? What is going on in here that makes the difference between a person who gives up and a person who doesn't? A person who says, nah, fear's not stopping me, and the people who are like, I really want to invest in real estate, but then they get, they almost pull the trigger and then they get stopped because of their fear. So the NLP model was created by trying to figure out what's different. What's different between the people who create incredible success versus the rest of the world, right? So fear is not stopping you. Fear stops a lot of people though. It's like they get afraid of what the government might do, afraid that they might lose money, afraid that they might lose other people's money. Fear is a huge obstacle. Stress is an obstacle. Overwhelm can be an obstacle because many people aren't full-time investors, so they have a full-time job and then they're doing investing and they have families and they have all of these different things. Again, those are just realities. We're not going to change those things. Those are just what our lives are. Then it becomes, okay, so this is what life is like. And yet I want that over there. I'm really hoping to achieve that. And then what can I do to get out of my own way so that I can actually go and do that? I'm not going to go into huge detail here because I'll bore you to death. But this is just to show you that what I'm sharing with you, again, it's not sort of like just a woo-woo thing. This is the NLP model of communication. And basically what this diagram is saying is life happens out here. Something happens, an event happens. Somebody says something to you. You get a phone call that something happened with a tenant. You write an offer and it doesn't get accepted. It falls through. You find out you didn't get financing. I don't know, one of your kids does something. I get to deal with that a lot right now because I have a 17 and a 20-year-old. So like the kids do something to, something happens out here and you bring it in through your senses. You hear it, you see it, whatever, like something happens. And I bring it through my filters. The key that I want you to understand or recognize or leave you with this piece is that when something happens out here, it's raw data. It actually doesn't mean anything until you bring it into your senses and run it through your own filters, which are your life experiences, your values, your beliefs, all of those things. And we're all deleting information, we're generalizing information, and we're distorting information all the time. As I'm talking to you right now, you're listening to me, and each one of you is running it through your filters automatically, but you're running it through your filters and to make sense of what I'm saying. And based on your life experiences, what I'm saying has a different meaning to each and every one of you. So when something happens out here, it happens, we bring it in through our senses. We from doing that and running through all the filters, which are just automatic things that happen based on our whole entire life, we make meaning of that, which creates how we feel. And then how we feel creates how we show up in the world, which means it creates our results. So what's going on in here for me dictates literally how I show up in the world. It dictates how I walk into a potential meeting with an investor. Because if I'm running something in here that is, for lack of a better word, I don't like this word, but negative or not supporting me, then even if, the fake it till you make it, even if I put a smile on my face and I walk into the room, the truth is it's going to ooze out of me in my physiology, in my tone of voice, and you're going to get it. So it's not about changing, like walk into a room with confidence. You walk into a room with confidence by changing what you need to change in here so that it automatically shines through in your body language and your tonality, and people connect with you and people like you, so to speak. So I wanted to show you that because there is a model behind everything that I share. It's not just, the idea of, mindset isn't about being positive. So recognizing that where the change happens, people try to change behavior. People go, I don't like that I do this. I don't want to be afraid anymore, or whatever the behavior might be. And this goes across all facets of life, whether it's personal, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in business, doesn't matter, in relationships. When people are not liking the results that they're getting in their life in some way, they often will look at changing their behavior. But when you're changing your behavior, when you're focusing at that level, you're fighting everything that's going on inside of you that's naturally pushing you in that direction. You're fighting it, and it's hard. So real change happens by changing what you're thinking and saying to yourself, what you believe, like your beliefs and all of that, so that naturally your behavior can change out in the world. And when we're talking about being a real estate investor, by behavior, a lot of that is taking action, being willing to write the deal, showing up as the version that you want to show up as, so that people know, like, and trust you. A lot of us are raising capital. If I'm a capital raiser, that's what the role that I play. So I either raise capital or find JV partners. So at the end of the day, really, people need to know, like, and trust me. They need to feel aligned with me. They need to understand who I am. And if I, walk in and I'm like really quiet and I don't want to talk to anybody, and I'm, or I'm cranky. So I'll tell you this. I had a crap day today. My kids are really challenging me right now. Let's just say. I meditated 4 times today so that I could show up here and be who I wanted to be, and not be like feeling like I wanted to kick somebody's butt, right? You do what you need to do. I'm not going to walk in here and fake it. I wanted to show up for you all, and I wanted to really, truly be of service. And that meant I needed to do something in here to shift how I was truly feeling so that I could come here. I left early. I sat in a parking lot over at Oxford and whatever, and I meditated in my car out of my home where my family wasn't. So anyhow, that's going a little too far in the personal life. But it's the truth. We have things happen, and then we got to go do something important, whether it's, whatever it might be. And you need to have the tools and the skills to be able to shift yourself out of whatever state you're in and be resourceful for wherever you're going next, right? So basically, when we say at cause or effect, being at cause in your life means taking responsibility. So when we're at effect, it's like, I am responding this way, or I'm feeling this way, or I'm behaving this way because of this and that and this and that. Because the government, because interest rates increased, because, my husband did this, because my kids did that, because the tenant did that, whatever it might be. It's like, I'm justifying that I'm showing up like this because these things happen. You have no control over that. And if that's how you live your life, where you're at effect, you literally have no control over whether you can feel good or bad, whether you can be in a motivated state to go and create success or not. You're literally at the effect of everybody out there. What you want to do is you want to be at cause, so that you are like, yes, that happened, but I'm responsible for what's going on in my inner world, and I need to do whatever I can do to get myself into the state I need to get into. And again, we're bringing this back for the purposes of this. I mean, truthfully, what I really care about is people being happy. I care about people living a happy life. I like to help people create success and happiness. I don't want success without happiness. Really don't want happiness without success either. I like the idea of both, right? So anyway, so I just want to encourage you to think about that. Are you living your life feeling like you're at effect, or are you living your life at cause? Taking responsibility, even though these things happened, maybe they're terrible things. Like, again, not to, it's not to minimize that things happen that are really difficult, really super stressful. In the world of real estate investing, you're about to get to the finish line and you find out your financing didn't come through. You have an investor pull out. You have all sorts of different things. The market crashes. I mean, the reality is things happen, and I'm not suggesting that, we kind of walk through like skipping and singing. But when those things happen, what do? Do you let it fully consume you, and it has you laying in bed and or yelling and screaming at people, or or quitting real estate altogether? Or do you have the skills and the resources within you to shift, to reframe it, to get yourself into a positive state so that you can come up with solutions? Because you cannot cause a problem when you're in the state of the problem. So when you're, and we all do that, like something happens and we have our initial response of like, right? But at some point, if we stay there and we're not going to solve a problem, we're not going to be resourceful. We need to be able to get ourselves, if we want to create success and be able to take action and be able to take the things that it throws us along the way, then we have to be able to do things to get ourselves into a resourceful state. So let's talk about fear for a minute. This is true for any negative emotion, but I'm just using fear as an example because I know it's a big one for a lot of investors. Fear is literally, in order for you to feel afraid, you are imagining that something's not going to go well. Only way you can feel afraid is that you are imagining you're going out there to the future and you're imagining that it happened and it was an epic fail in some way. Something bad happened. Because when you think about something, it causes your brain to release chemicals to your body that create a feeling. So the fear is just a feeling because chemicals flooded your body. But the chemicals flooded your body by what you thought. And in order for you to feel fear, you imagine it didn't go well. You're about to write on it. You see an opportunity. Chem brings you an opportunity. You see it. You get excited. You work the numbers. You're going to write on it. You go to write on it. And then at the last minute, you're afraid you're going to lose money. You're afraid that it's going to sit vacant. You're afraid of one of these things. And then you imagine that happens. You imagine you don't have the money. I mean, I'm just using this as an example, but you imagine you don't have the money to cover the bills. You imagine that it gets foreclosed and you lose everything. And then you don't write at the 11th hour. Like that kind of thing. The only way you can feel fear is if you're imagining that it is not going to go well. Okay? So I think that's a really important thing for you to recognize. You're literally torturing yourself. People will walk around mapping out things not going well, mapping out walking into an investor meeting and the person not wanting to invest with them, or coming up to do a presentation and I'm going to forget every word that I say, or whatever it might be. We often just spend our life mapping out, visualizing, imagining that things aren't going to go well. So then we feel awful right now because we're actually experiencing it as though it already happened and it didn't go well right now and it hasn't even happened yet. Who can take action in that state? Who's going to be excited and motivated to go and connect with people and build relationships and buy properties when that's how you're feeling? You're just not going to be. So it's funny, my friend Nicole says she always quotes me on this. If you're going to make it up, because you're making it up, if you're going to make it up good. Why don't we make it up good? It hasn't happened yet. We don't know how it's going to go. So we have a choice. We can either imagine that it's going to go terrible, and then we can feel like crap, and then we're unmotivated, and we don't take action. Or we can imagine that it's going to go crazy awesome and how good we're going to feel. And then our brain's going to flood our body with those chemicals and we're going to feel all fired up and we're going to go do that thing that needs to happen in order for us to move forward. And it literally is that simple. I mean, I know it's not that simple, but it also is that simple because we're doing it all the time anyways. You are running stories in your mind. You're thinking things through. You're thinking about the future. When you look at an opportunity or you think about a partnership or you're dreaming, you're thinking about something that hasn't happened yet. And then your brain floods your body with chemicals and you get a feeling. So you really have to pay attention to what are you thinking about and what are you saying to yourself and how is that making you feel? Because how it makes you feel literally directly dictates what kind of action you're going to take. People wonder why they're not motivated. They're typically not motivated because they're running through every possible terrible thing that could happen. And they don't want to do it, right? I just think this is fun to share. It's super powerful. You can search Dr. Emoto. He's a scientist who did an experiment with water and also with rice. And this is just to show you, again, because I want each and every one of you, my hope for you is that you can start to pay attention to what's going on in here. I know you're all smart. I know you all have learned how to run your numbers and do due diligence and figured out what strategy you want to run. And you're smart people. I know that. Many people don't pay attention to what they're thinking. They just think that it only matters what I'm doing out here. but you really, really, if you want to create incredible success, the people who are really successful, they are paying attention to this. They are paying attention to what they're thinking, what they're saying to themselves, because they want everything to be supporting them in moving towards their goals and dreams. So this is just, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this. He basically took water molecules, put them in a petri dish, froze them, and then looked at them through the microscope. And these just had written words on the petri dishes. And the words actually impacted the molecular structure of the water molecules. Crazy, I know. And so,
No, that's
so it is woo, except a scientist did it. Yeah. So look it up. No, it really truly is. And it is true. But even if it wasn't true, if you decided to believe that this was true, you'd be way more aware of what you're saying to yourself. Because if we are made up of a whole bunch of water, you know, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 70%, everybody says different things. Regardless, it's a lot of water. If we're made up of water, and this is the kind of impact that words have on water, again, what are you saying to yourself? About other people, about what's possible in this world of real estate investing? Because you can be assured that if your molecules look like the yucky ones, again, are you going to shine? Are you going to go out and build amazing relationships with people? Are people going to gravitate towards you to want to do business with you and want to find out what you're doing? Likely not. So it's always remembering that we're talking about this stuff, not because it's some cool, fun thing. And, you know, well, I think it's fun. You might not think it's fun. But we're talking about this because you guys want to achieve success, a different level of success than the average person. It doesn't mean you want 100 doors. When my business partner in New Brunswick said to me that when we first started investing there and he said he wanted 100 doors, I mean, I was like, not a freaking chance. I had no desire to get 100 doors, like none at all. Not at all. Anyways.
Where in New Brunswick?
St. John. Yeah. And so I think I'm at 97 doors or something now. So I'm almost at 100. I'm not at 100 though. But again, the success isn't that somebody wants 100 doors. It could be 1, it could be 3. It doesn't matter. But what it is that you want it because you have this life that you're creating, and you think that's gonna help you live the life you want to live. And if you really want it and you're not there yet, then this is a really important piece, is paying attention to your mindset, what's going on in here. So again, none of us know what you're saying inside your head. We don't know, right? But you know. You know when you're driving in your car. You know when you're having a shower. You know whether the dialogue that's going on in your head is supporting you in achieving success or not. And if you're not getting the results you want, then I would highly encourage you to be paying attention to this piece of it because it stops you. So everybody knows Henry Ford's, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think I'm almost done because I know we're way over time. Okay, so I just want to leave you with one thing that you can do to shift how you're feeling if you're feeling any of the yucky things, because it happens. It happened to me today. It happens to people, you know, it happens to us all the time, whether it's bad news, whether it's, you know, like the tenants do something horrible, it doesn't matter. I don't need to list. You guys all know all the not fun things that can happen, but it happens, and now you don't want to be living in that. You don't want to be, you know, angry or afraid or whatever it might be. You want to shift out of that so you can go and do all the things that you need to do. So there's something called creating outcomes. Now, we are all used to setting goals, right? Everybody's familiar with setting goals, which is the thing you want to accomplish. I want to get a certain number of doors. I want to buy whatever, get my next property. I want to make $10,000 a month in passive income. Everybody knows about goals. And goals, we have to have goals. But setting outcomes is a really important piece. What setting outcomes is you have your goal. Does somebody want to share it? Can somebody just throw out a goal? Any goal? Does anybody have a goal right now? Nobody has a goal?
Like
$10 million.
You were vibrating. I can see that.
What's your goal?
For my coaching business by the end of next year or 200,000.
Amazing. Okay, so then that is the goal. The outcome would be, and you don't have to say this out loud, but this will be for for you to see the difference. The outcome is, what is the moment in time when you realized you've accomplished it? You're going to be celebrating. Well, first of all, it's like, what is the moment, right? Is it that you're looking at a bank statement? Is it that you got that last client, coaching client that registers and it puts you to that number? Like, what is the moment in time where you realize you did it?
That was exactly the last client.
Right. Okay. So then what you do is you visualize that happening and you imagine how amazing that is. That client signed up, woo, whatever you're doing, right? And look at how you're lit up. So what you do is every day you visualize in your mind, you imagine that last person signing up that gets you over that finish line of 200,000, and you feel it. And what that does is that motivates you on the days that things aren't going well, when you really don't feel like doing that one more thing, when you're creating so much content and it's like, oh my gosh, then you connect with that. It's not like I want my coaching business to hit $200,000. It's like, it's that emotional connection to that last click when you celebrate the fact that you got that. When I was building my fourplex over in Nanaimo, it was not a fun project. It took me 5 years and lost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I could do a whole talk on how not to build a fourplex. I mastered that one. But I envisioned standing in front of that building, cracking a bottle of champagne in front of it to celebrate the fact that it was over. And so when it was over, I took a ferry and I went to the liquor store and I got a bottle of champagne and I stood in front of that building and I cracked that champagne and I drank right out of the bottle. But, pardon? Not even in a brown bag. I did not care. But the point is imagining that moment when I was going to be able to do that is what got me through all of the things that I needed to do to get to the finish line. Because I put my head in a different place than all the problems, I put it at the end when I'd accomplished it. So when you guys are feeling all of the different things that are stopping you from taking action, because you've got to have like a little fire under your butt if you're going to go do things. You really do, right? You can't just sit on the couch and wish for it. You've got to actually do stuff to make it happen. But sometimes we don't feel like it. So you've got to conjure it up within yourself, and outcomes is a way. So you set your goal, you know your goal, but then you imagine that moment in time when you've achieved it. What is a moment when you're celebrating? And you visualize that. And if you really think about it and you bring in all of your senses, at some point your brain floods your body with chemicals and you feel it. Like you get that rush. And that allows you to do that one more thing that you don't feel like doing in order to accomplish your goals. So again, it is about training your brain to think differently. You just got to keep at it. You prioritize it. You pay attention to what you're thinking and saying to yourself, and you master it. So I don't really need to go through this because everybody's going to fall asleep. But that's the bottom line. Set your goals, set your outcomes, master your mindset, and go get it. There you go.
All right. Turn these things on here. There we go. Thank you so much. That was so amazing. Does anyone have any questions for Melanie on the power of mindset at this point? Yes.
I can relate to the Nanaimo experience. I got wiped out in Port Alberni, and the Black Swan was U.S. lumber tariffs that basically killed the town. And you changed the outcome from making a lot of money to it won't have killed me, and I'm going to celebrate that anyway. And so I've got a photo of myself at the.
What doesn't kill you?
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I have a photo at the town dump in Port Alberni. The last load of crap from the last house that I had been able to sell with all the buzzwords in the newspapers in the 90s. Motivated seller, nothing down, bad credit, not a problem. Dumped those places because it just wasn't going to turn around anytime fast. And I'm smiling, thumbs up at the dump. I'm done. I'm not dead.
It's over.
I have my freedom. It's over.
Exactly.
And that was a victory in itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, bringing it to the finish line, because other people would like lay down and just be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to get to the finish line often isn't easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions online at all? Anything coming in through? Ray.
When you're counting doors, if it's a house and it's got a basement suite, it's 2 doors.
2 doors.
All right.
Ray's recalculating everything right now. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Yeah, I'll grab those here. And thank you again. You know what? I gotta say, like from watching, like that's one of the most exciting things about this group and running this is being able to see people come and grow and thrive. You know, we've had Debbie and Gigi and several other people who've, you know, started out, you know, brand new, and look what can be accomplished. So make sure you guys take some time, talk to Melanie, get any advice you can. But the most important thing is the reason why I really wanted her to come out, don't leave yet, is that mindset part of it, right? Because we are in a situation where we are just getting flooded with every reason as to why you can't be successful right now. Interest rates and Airbnb regulations and government change this and tax that. But at the end of the day, there's always opportunities out there. So if you have that shift in the mindset, then you'll be able to find those opportunities. If you don't have the right mindset, you'll never be able to see the forest from the trees, and you won't see those deals.
You'll believe everyone else. I don't watch the news. I mean, I obviously need to know something. It all shows up in my Facebook feed and all these groups, but I watch the news because I don't want to feel like that.
So you don't watch it when they do the rate hikes?
Pardon?
You don't watch the rate
I
hikes?
hear the rate. You can't not hear the rate hikes. Anyways, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Thanks so much. And round of applause. Come on. And with that being said, I was told by my guy, I got to do a quick refresh, and then we will get you guys on your way. We are going to finish off with some market updates. What is going on in the market? So this is not negative news, because I actually got some really good news, because I don't want to give you guys that negative after we just had that positive. And then I got some actually really great deals for you guys, because again, we talked about having our mindset right. We got that mindset right. We got some great deals for you guys. So first and foremost, let's take a look at what is happening in the market. Now, one of the things that we like to show is what's going on in supply versus demand and the impact it's having on the value. So right now, as we can see here, this is kind of since October 2022 to October 2023, we have seen an increase in the inventory, right? So we're about 500 units more than last year. This one is 200 units more. And this was actually down in the Chilliwack district area. So what we are seeing is that as we continue to go through the markets that we've been through, inventory has been climbing. This is a definite impact from the interest rates, right? Sellers are suddenly having to change. There's been situations where people are refinancing. They might not be able to afford the homes. They're having to put them up on the market. Airbnb legislation came in. Everyone starts dumping their units. Inventory starts rising. What happens when inventory starts rising? Well, as we get more and more inventory and the demand stays low, that's where opportunities come in. And then we take a look at what is happening in the sales. Now, this one's been a little bit of an interesting one to track. As we take a look at the sales, we had a huge spike. Everyone remembers the springtime here, right? A huge spike in sales. Then it came down because suddenly the government went, let's pause interest rates. Then let's increase interest rates. Now, look at what the trend curve is starting to do. What happened recently? They paused interest rates. So what do we think might happen if they continue with the pauses? They don't increase. Maybe sales will start improving again. People will start saying, okay, the dust is settling a little bit. Maybe it's time to get back into the market. And we're going to talk a little bit, that's variable. We're going to talk a little bit about fixed rate in a second. And then the next thing we look at is prices. So prices, they've been, in my opinion, they've been staying fairly steady for the most part. Now this, of course, when it takes in averages, sometimes you're going to have higher price points that sell or lower price points. Overall, the market is down. However, it's not going too crazy because the market came back up during that springtime, right? Interest rates held steady, so buyers went out and bought, and it drove up prices. They came down a little heavier in the more affordable markets, like the Fraser Valley here and Chilliwack district. But then we saw it started to come back up a little bit. And it's kind of doing a little bit of a wave, like, you know, trying to dance around a little bit. This is the most you're going to get from the dancing side of things. So what I see here is that we're starting to see a little bit of that stabilization in the price, right? We've had some ups and downs. If we continue to see that those interest rates stay level, or we start to see them drop, there's a high chance that that inventory will start to get picked apart as the demand increases, as sales start increasing, and then eventually we're going to see that upward pressure on homes again. So as investors, that's what we have to start looking at. Where in the cycles are we? Where, you know, you can't time the market, but you can definitely analyze the market and look for the right deals in that market. So a couple things that came out. So this is straight out from the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. So we clipped some of the news articles. Housing market sales weakens as prices continue to fall. Property sales and new listings in the Fraser Valley fell again in October as consumers continue to put home buying and selling decisions on hold in the face of elevated interest rates. What we're seeing in the Fraser Valley and indeed across the province is the impact of the sustained high rates. We talked about rates, right? This has been the case in the later half of the year so far. This is the key word I want everyone to pay attention to, is the so far. And we anticipate this trend to continue until we start to see some downward movement in the policy rate. Now, something that's happened recently that as boots on the ground we've been feeling, and how many of you guys tune in on Mondays to the Monday morning market update I do on the Investors Performance Group? If you don't, even if you miss it, I highly recommend you go back and watch it, because that is when I tell you what I've been feeling that week. When you guys come to the monthly events, you get the last month's stats. So right now, boots on the ground, we are starting to notice a bit of a change. So right now, our team has been carrying just under 30 listings. And with that amount of listings, we're constantly trying to adjust, figure out what's going to happen in the market. We're talking to our sellers. Then suddenly in 1 week, offer. We got 7 offers negotiated. We sold several of our listings that are 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus days on the market now. So suddenly buyers came back into the market just all of a sudden, and the showings are going nuts. I just sold a condo in Langley. Clients unfortunately did have to take a little lower than they wanted because there are still negotiations happening. I sold it, and yesterday, subject removes were on Tuesday. Yesterday, on Wednesday, I had 6 showing requests. I said, where have you guys been like the last month? I just sold it, right? So we are seeing there's an increase in buyer activity. And the reason why is because this is one of the major factors here. Whenever we're seeing the news, we're talking about the Bank of Canada rate, which is tied to the variable rates, right? And variable rates have obviously been super high. However, as it sits right now, the Canadian 5-year bond has actually been on the decline, and fixed rate mortgages are tied to the bond yield. If the bond yield starts coming down, that means fixed rates start coming down. So when I talk to my mortgage brokers, and I did a video on my Instagram and TikTok about it, and literally as I posted it, 2 days later, he calls me, he's like, actually that data is out of date now, it's actually a little bit lower. You're starting to see, like, if you're on a 5-year, I believe it's 5-year insured mortgage right now, so if someone's looking to buy a home, they're starting to get under 5.5% mortgages again. So the qualifying rate is just over 7.5, right? Fixed rates are still, variable rates are still much higher than that. So with Canadians, what I tend to find, especially if they're buying homes, most of them are a little bit more conservative than, let's say, us risk taker investors, right? And so they're going in, they're buying homes, they're locking in their rates, right? They might be taking a little bit, maybe their broker saying maybe do a 2 or 3 year, because we don't want to lock you in for too long at a higher rate. But we know you qualify for this home because we qualified you at 7.5%. So we're seeing an increase in buyer activity. Then you start getting news articles like this. Tiff Macklin, we all love him, right? He's probably one of our best friends in Canada right now. Bank of Canada Macklin says interest rate hikes may be over. So we're seeing all this news. What does that do for the average buyer? They start to get a little excited. Maybe I should start to think about getting in the market. Interest rates may now be restrictive enough to get us back to stability pace. This one just came out recently as well. This one was the 22nd. This one was a week ago. Relief may be on the way. Economists forecast interest rate cuts by as early as mid-2024. Heck, Michael just texted me after the meeting, said, hey, by the way, Desjardins is predicting that interest rates are going to be coming down. He's like, I'll be keeping an eye on it for you. I'm like, so we're starting to see more and more of that news. As that starts to happen, what's going to happen with the market? We'll start turning the corner, right? We're going to start seeing more sales happening and more multiple offers. When we have multiple offers, we start to drive that price up. So as a sophisticated investor, what do we have to do when we see that data? What do we have to do? We got to go take action. We got to take the right action, right? Can't just buy anything for the sake of buying. You definitely have to do the right deals, the right strategies, everything like that. So make sure you're working with your great team around you. So we're going to take a look at some of the markets and what's been happening. We typically do an east to west kind of viewpoint. Let's start in the city of Chilliwack. And the news is not that terrible year over year, right? Detached is still up slightly. Inventory is only up about 1%. So while we're gaining inventory, we're not gaining it at a rapid pace. So if we're not gaining a ton of inventory and sales start to go up, we're going to move back into that seller's market. In fact, we haven't actually, I've been watching it quite a bit. Certain sub-markets have jumped around, like around that buyer's market, we haven't actually hit the buyer's market yet, right? So all of a sudden we've been in this balanced market for a while, kind of teetering in towards the buyer's market. And if things start changing, we'll move into that seller's market, because the fundamentals is we still have a lack of supply, and we're bringing in a ton of immigration into Canada. That's going to put pressure on our housing system, and it's going to push values back up. It's pretty simple. All right, so townhouses are up 40% over last year, and the inventory is down. But here's the thing. I mean, we talked I think it was last month or the month before, about the missing middle. We had a presentation on that. There's only 59 townhomes on the market in all of Chilliwack right now. That is not a lot of inventory for those people looking to upsize from condos or downsizing from homes, right? And then even condos, the affordable markets, there's not a lot of inventory out there comparative to the detached market. So that's why we're still seeing the prices are fairly stable over last year. Abbotsford, fairly stable, up a little bit on inventory, 35 days to sell a house, not too bad if it's priced well. Townhouses up 16.9%, inventory down 41.6% over last year. And last year, 2022, was one of the slowest points of the market that we had, okay? Condos up almost 10%, inventory is down, and days on the market is actually shrinking in these two capacities over last year. Mission's down a little bit. There's a little bit more older product, I find, whereas Abbotsford's have a lot more of the newer product that's driving the price up. But inventory is still down, about 48 days, a little longer to sell in Mission right now. Definitely feeling that. We've got a few listings in Mission. Townhouses are up 12%, only 39 on the market last month, so that's up 95%. That's significant growth, but still not a lot of townhouses. And we're up 25% on the condos with 35. And here's the interesting thing. I know one building is closing literally this week, and I think at one point they had probably 15 to 20 assignments on the market. GG's actually closing this week on that property, so we're excited for you on that. Prices are down a little bit here, but again, that's because we saw a lot of people dumping properties. We had one person who could not qualify, and one of our buyers actually was able to scoop up the assignment, and the buyer walked away from half his deposit. So there's some opportunities out there on the assignment side of things. Langley up about 9.6% on detached. They're still sitting at an average of $1.8 million in Langley. Up a little bit in there, down a little bit, 27 days to sell a detached home. Up in the townhouses, down total inventory, only 2 weeks to sell. Langley townhouses fly off the shelves still. So if you have a Langley townhouse that you've been thinking about selling, now might be the time to slowly get it off. Get that money out so you can be ready to redistribute it into opportunities that make more sense for you. Condos, pretty stable. Down a little bit of the inventory, still pretty quick to sell a condo. Surrey, similar numbers across the board here. Up on detached, up on townhouses, stable on condos. Inventory is definitely a little higher in certain categories, still down over 10% in the townhouse category. But still, like when you look at like Surrey's a very large area. It's not a lot of condos in that area. Maple Ridge up 7.3%. Inventory is definitely up, stagnant on the days on market. Down a little bit on the townhouses, inventory up slightly. Condos 5% up. And big jumps, 67.4% increase in the inventory. But again, 157 condos in that area. Okay, so now we're going to move out of the more affordable markets into the more expensive markets, I should say, or the more unaffordable markets. And yet, here's the killer here. As we start getting into these higher price points, while you might think that they're going to be impacted by interest rates, which they definitely are in certain capacities, a lot more of these people, when they're selling, they're cashing out large money, and people coming in, they can afford it. They're buying a $4 or $5 million home. They know they can afford it, right? So they're not looking as much at the financing. Sometimes they have cash. So we're up still. Vancouver East is now over 2.1 as an average for a detached home. Inventory is very up only slightly. Townhouses are up over $1.15 million, and it's up 8% over last year. Still pretty quick considering, and inventory is down slightly. And the condo market, up a little bit there. Inventory is not up huge, and it's still less than 3 weeks to sell a condo. Vancouver West is still showing gains as well. 3.8 million is the average to buy a home in the Vancouver West area. Inventory is down over there. It's pretty quick to sell a property, less than, just over a month. Townhouse is down slightly, but it's 1.463, up a little bit on the inventory, 3 weeks to sell a townhouse. and down slightly on the condos, but they're all over $1 million as an average. And 9.9. I'm actually working with a client looking for a property in UBC area right now because there's some opportunities that have popped up in those areas. So, depending on the right strategy and what you're looking to do. So, but you can find stuff that's under the $1 million mark. We're looking at 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Found a few close-ish to UBC, a little bit of a bus drive, and we're looking at about 899. So some pretty okay deals out that way right now. So speaking about deals, let's talk about some hot deals. Now, a few of these we've actually presented. You know that we are big fans of pre-sale condos. We think there's some great opportunities. And the reason why we're liking pre-sales right now specifically is because developers have been bringing down the prices. And if we've looked at all those statistics and we see interest rates going to be coming down, and possibly it's going to force some values up in the future, and you're not closing on these for 2 years, and that 6 months from now they start meddling with interest rates on the downward, we could see that these prices start to go up. The other nice thing is if you're planning on closing on these and interest rates do finally come down in 2.5 years, you're not having to close as high, they're going to do, I think, very, very well. But even more when you look at the incentives that we've just been given. So first is Silver and Cedar. They just launched the west wing of this one. We actually had access to the west wing last week when we went to the Keyspire conference in Toronto. They gave it to us in advance, did their public launch this weekend, and they've got a promo right now that anyone buying in this building right now can take an additional $35,000 off the price. So we're talking 1 bedrooms at around $350,000. Like very, very affordable deals to get into. 10% deposits. So you're looking at about $35,000 to get into a 1-bedroom condo in the area. 2 junior 2s are around $440,000, I believe. There you go. They're right up there on the screen. I should probably look at my slides here. What's that?
What is square footage?
Square footages of the junior 2s are around 740, I believe. But we can send you the floor plans and all the details on that. So not a problem. 1,000. Actually, they just reduced this. Actually, is 2. This is now $1,000 plus GST. And it's in a great location. So if you're familiar with Mission at all, this is not a great map for a slide, but you go straight up Cedar Street, quite north into Mission, until you hit Cherry Avenue. There's a lot of new development, beautiful townhouses, detached homes, everything going in there. This is going to be one of the first condo buildings going right on the corner. And right over here is a school. And actually, one of the Keyspire members who bought one this last weekend, she happened to say, well, hey, my kids all graduated from that school. Like it's an elementary. They went through that. Now they've graduated. They're all in their 40s now. So they're very familiar. They're super excited about what's coming into that area. City and Laurel. This is another development that's in Maple Ridge. Another great developer we worked with quite a bit. Strategically located just minutes from shopping, restaurants, downtown. But of course, the West Coast Express is one of the key elements there. They're doing a $20,000 off promo. Yeah.
No, I just want to make sure you said the $20,000 off.
Yeah, I've got it all. Don't worry, Kelly. $20,000 off on all the units on these ones. So again, you can see under $400,000 in Maple Ridge for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. You can get 1-bed and dens under just about under 500. So some really good opportunities. These ones, they were 15% deposit. Did they change the deposit structure to 10%? Do we know? Kelly's not paying attention to me. Do you know if they changed that? Is that 10% deposit now, or do they keep it at 15? Okay, it might be dropped to 10. More than likely, a lot of them have been doing that. So great opportunities if you're looking for the city of Mission. Again, we've got all the floor plans, price lists, everything like that. Hit me up there. Sorry?
That's Maple Ridge.
Maple Ridge, yeah. So this is, what did I say?
You said Mission.
Mission. Long night. All right, so this was located right on Dewey Trunk here and Dunbar Street. So you've got kind of the downtown core here, straight shot down to 22nd into the West Coast Express. And the last one is Gabriel. This one, the discounts on this. So typically there's 2 times I say is the best time to get into a building. One, and this is my favorite, is with the first in the building, right? You want to get in on that first wave, base level pricing, exclusive access. That's when you're going to make your best bang for your buck. The second is when they have inventory left over. Actually, I think Elisa's left, but Elisa scooped up a whole whack of deals, like killer deals when a developer did this recently. But they have their blowout prices. They just absolutely slap. They've already made their money. They've made their returns. They've got a select amount of units left, and they just absolutely slash the prices just to offload the rest of them. And that's what they're doing here at the Gabriel. They've got up to $120,000 off on select units. I've seen them from anything from about 15 to that 120. So this one, I think once they start really blasting this out to the public, I think there's going to be quite a few sales on this. You guys are getting some early access on that information. So we do have the list of all the original prices with the discounts and which ones are being discounted. I can definitely send those to you. Again, 10% deposit, $1,000 GST, estimated completion February 2026. Killer deal. This one's got a great location. You've got the new UBC campus that's being built on King George Boulevard, just in and around this area, as well as the King George SkyTrain station. So Surrey Central is really rapidly developing. There's a lot going on in that area. So it's a good opportunity with the discounts to be in and around that growth. All right, so we're gonna start wrapping things up. You can grab all your phones. Everyone get it ready because we got some QR codes for you because we're in 2023. So that's what we do. Check us out on social media so you guys can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. We're even on Threads now. So if you guys want to follow us on any of the preferred platforms you have, this is where you're going to stay up to date with our team for the events that we run, the deals that we have, and of course any listings that you might be interested in as well. Got a few people still scanning, so I'll wait for that one. All right. And of course, you can follow Kelly or I on TikTok. We post lots of great content on there, a lot of educational based. I used to dance more on there, but you know, I'm getting older, so phones don't move as much as they used to. You can check us out on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you like scrolling at night. We got a lot of content coming out there. And a big shout out to Jordan, our videographer, who's helping us actually look more polished on these platforms. Without him, you'd still have like hazy phones and things like that. And of course, we have the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. You can check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, all those types of platforms. And of course, we have our Investors Performance Group community. This is where, if you're going to scan anything and join anything, it's joining the Facebook group. This is a community that we're working on building up continually. Every single week, I'm in there trying to post articles, doing live videos. If you've got deals that you're looking to fund, you can post those looking for JV partners. If you have questions, mindset questions, throw it in there. Melanie might jump in and answer it for you. So feel free to continue to participate in this. And of course, this is where I do the Monday morning market update. So live on Facebook, if I'm available, I will give you the boots on the ground. We'll talk about current events that just like, if I see something that you need to know, I will talk about it. What's going on in, if I sat and did 10 open houses in a weekend, what was the traffic like so you can get a sense of where the buyers are coming from and everything like that. And of course, for all of my gentlemen out there, growing the most, supporting Movember, I really would appreciate if you guys could. Anything helps towards the cause. We are looking to raise at least $3,000. And again, in the name of my Uncle Terry, definitely one of the guy I look up to a lot because he fought hard his whole life. And like I said, survivor several times of cancer, and finally succumbed to it. So see a few people scanning. I'll hold off on that one. If you can, help us get them to our goal. And of course, I got those blue collar rednecks out there, really jiving at me because they're all working hard getting their oil money in there too. So we got a team, and we got one in Alberta, one here. Jury's working on it, so we're trying to do this white collar versus blue collar thing. So. All right. Okay. And we had a lot of posts here this week, so thank you so much for participating. We've some beautiful posts there. I mean, Debbie, you really know how to take some photos. Like, that's a good shot. And I'm pretty sure that Debbie is also the one who took an excellent shot of Melanie up on stage. And so with that shot, you are the winner. Congratulations, Debbie. We got a swag bag there for you. So you got a bunch of Kelly Fry team stuff. We got a couple of books in there for you. So congratulations, you betcha. I'm pretty sure you've won a couple times now. Yeah. Take notes, folks. She knows how to play on social media. And with that being said, this is our last formal meeting of the year. So we are going to be inviting all of you guys out to our annual Christmas party. It's going to be on December 3rd, so it's a Sunday, from 2 to 5 p.m. here in the training center. We'd love to for you to come out. We're going to have food. We're going to have drinks. We've got activities. Bring your kids. We're going to have stuff for them. There's going to be possibly some visits from some elves and maybe Santa Claus, and we'd like to just have a lot of great time. So mark it on your calendars, and you guys will all be getting an invite soon in your emails as well, so you can RSVP for the event. That's about it for me today. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out to our last one of the year. I can't believe we're already starting to talk about 2024 soon. So there's lots of opportunity I see coming in the market. So don't be afraid. Get your mindset right. Go talk and get your financing right with BDC or your lender, and go out and take some action. And with that, thank you so much. Watching on Zoom, thank you so much for joining us online today. We really appreciate you guys participating as well. We will not be live streaming our Christmas party, so make sure you guys RSVP and come out to the Christmas party live. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. And you can cut her. All right.